Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and everybody else in between, I'm Ashton Gene Lewis. This is the Broke Boy Sports Podcast. If you're listening live and you're wondering why we're here on a Tuesday, well, it's quite simple. We don't have enough time to go through and preview and review the entire NFL week that was and the week that's coming up. So, this entire episode of the podcast is dedicated to one of the greatest drugs known to man, NFL football.
That is right.
Co-host is still here. Martin is still here. You just heard
Yep.
his illustrious voice right there. And Martin, we're gonna do this podcast a little bit different because there's a lot of people who just want to talk into a microphone, talk about football. There's very few people who want to talk about their fantasy football league and talk about football. Right? We're part of an elite group of people there, but we will be using our fantasy football league that we started, Mediocre Football at its finest, to represent and use it as a vehicle to talk about the NFL season, the NFL week. As we go through it, you'll hear about some of the worst things that have happened to certain players or certain teams, and you'll hear about the best things. But at the end of the day, we'll be talking about a mix of fantasy football, and more importantly, we'll be talking about real football and get some of these opinions going after week one. And we start off here at the top. We would be remiss if we didn't have Martin tell us about our lovely sponsor, Thrive Fantasy, that makes this show possible.
That's right, Ashton. One weekend of NFL football in the books, Thursday to Monday. It is a great time to get into some fantasy action. And right now, Thrive Fantasy, you can download it for free on the Google Store and Apple, the Apple Store as well. Excuse me. Go ahead and download Thrive Fantasy. Use the code when you download Broke Boy. And when you put $20 down, you'll get $20 right back, so you can get $40 worth of action going. Week 2 is right, well, almost 48 hours away, Ashton, from when we're recording this podcast on Tuesday, September 15th. Shout out to everybody that's listening. But yeah, Thrive Fantasy. I got in on week 1, Ashton. Of all of the success I had this weekend, unfortunately, I did not finish in the money for the props. I will go ahead and say it right now. I was wrong on Christian McCaffrey underperforming. That one was probably my biggest swing and a miss of the week 1 Thrive action. But you too can get in on hashtag prop up action this week and every weekend in the fantasy football season. And it is a great time. I was following along. I was close on the Aaron Rodgers, but unfortunately, late in the fourth quarter, he hit his over, and that was that. I thought the Vikings defense. We're gonna get into a couple of teams that underperformed, but I thought the Vikings defense would shut down Aaron Rodgers a little bit more than they did.
I tried to tell you dudes, man. You guys have drifted from your faith. You guys don't understand just how much Aaron Rodgers hates people, hates the doubters. Most importantly, Aaron Rodgers, I think, according to PFF, finished with the highest rating the entire of all of week 1, which was over a 90. So
That's
yeah,
pretty good.
over a 90. Yeah, not too bad. I think he had like 2 incomplete passes, and then he also had a 4 touchdown, 300 plus yard game. No shade there.
No, and guess who's got him on his fantasy team? 2 thumbs pointing at this guy. Right
There we
here.
go, guys. That's our first mention of our fantasy teams on this show. So yeah, it's NFL Week 1. It is Tuesday, September 15th. We just finished a Monday night doubleheader, and most of America went to work very, very tired because that game, which finished in a thrilling 14-13 final score, lasted until 1 o'clock in the morning. Or if you're in the Central Time Zone, 2 a.m. if you're one of our unlucky brothers and sisters on the East Coast out there. So good luck with that if you stayed up the whole time to watch that, because I know it's a lot of people that got kids they got to take care of that just bailed out at halftime because they knew what time it was. Because if you've ever done the Monday Night Football doubleheader, you know it goes at least until midnight, and some people just can't hang. Some people can't hang, man. I understand.
There was I saw a mix of people saying we should kill the Thursday night game and have 2 Monday Night Football games, and just about every single one of those people lived west of Texas, shall we say? And then everybody else said this is better be the last time we do 2 Monday Night Football games.
Yeah,
And all those
they're like,
people
see, that's
east of
it,
Texas.
Martin. They can only stand one. They can
Yeah.
only do it one time a year, and it has to be for opening week of the NFL, right?
Hmm.
Other than that, it's a bad time, right? Like all the East Coast writers who, if you pay attention to sports, everybody thinks that everything is heavily influenced by the East Coast, and I implore you to say this one simple thing. Maybe it's because you only read and look at East Coast shit.
Yep.
Because if you like, I don't know. That's usually what it comes down to. It's mainly because you only look at East Coast stuff. East Coast writers, publications. I know ESPN is in Connecticut. We all know that. But the fact of the matter is, like, a good chunk of those dudes are in Maryland, in particular SVP, who famously moved to back home. Bomani Jones is out there in New York. Dan Lebertard's in Florida. And those are like, I don't know where Chene and Mike Golick Jr. are at. Probably in Bristol. But yeah, there's West Coast guys at ESPN, especially if you. Never mind. I'm not gonna give away the good stuff. Maybe later. Maybe some other time I'll tell you the dope podcast to listen to from West Coast guys or people who are from the Central Time Zone. Because if there's anything you should probably question is you taking football advice from people who do not live in Georgia, Florida, and where else, Martin? What's another state? Oh, California.
Yep. One of the big
Because
ones.
a lot of you guys love to listen to people from New York, and it's real funny because you look around in New York and you're just kind of like, not a lot of great athletes around there for some reason. Don't really, whatever. Anyway, that's a hot take.
Yeah.
By the way, shout out to everybody who wrote in a question for the show. We will read them at some point during the show. I would dare say maybe in the middle because they do have some key topics that we can discuss here, Martin, and get some stuff off our chest. That's pretty much it, man. Other than that, sit in and strap down on this one. Martin, we got to go to the actual standings for the league here.
Let me pull them up.
As you can imagine, as people love to text me when we go live on the show all the time, I swear to God. Anyway, we start off here. Half the league is in first place. The other half is in last place. Very similar, as you can imagine, with one win on the season. So two tango is Martin's.
Yeah. I'm trying to pull it up so we can give people a visual that's watching on twitch.tv/BrokeBoySports. There we go. There is the standings. We're in there, coming in hot out of the gate, Ashton. It feels good to drop 200 points in week 1.
See, Martin's got that mentality of like, yo, my name's at the top, so obviously I'm on first place, ignoring the other 5 people in the league who are right below him.
Hey, the what's it called? The tiebreaker is points scored for your team. So right now I've got the tiebreaker over Kevin, he's changed his name twice now. DK Country, Singapore Skywalkers, TV12 Brady Nears, and Team Koshin, all 1-0. Team Koshin only 99 points, but pulling out the dub because Ashton
scored 94.
Yeah, I was gonna say, Ashton, what happened to your team in the first week?
Oh, you want to talk about it right now? We can talk about it right here. So the last match, I haven't changed my roster. I'm looking at last week's matchup. So Tom Brady got me 22 points because I was stupid and didn't go for a dual threat quarterback early enough. Which, by the way, if you're not separating quarterbacks into tiers of dual threat and regular quarterback, which Martin, we can probably bring this up on the Broke Boy Sports podcast. The time of my quarterback is a pocket presence guy is over.
It's gone. It's done.
It's over.
Yep.
Like I don't know what to tell you guys. Like, they make white people who can run now.
Yeah. Really?
Look, Christian McCaffrey and Josh Allen, guys. Like, I don't know. And then, dude, even that, look at the top 3 guys who are supposed to be coming in the draft this upcoming season, right? Like, top 3 quarterbacks, supposed to be the boy Trey Lance from North Dakota State, who, Carson Wentz can fucking run. Even though he tore his ACL in that freak incident, Carson Wentz can fucking run. Could not run very fast this weekend. He got sacked 8 times. But Carson Wentz, the new heir apparent is Trey Lance. That's the hot name in the streets, right? That's the hot name. If you really in the draft culture, that's the one that everybody's like jizzing their pants over right now. Mm-hmm. They literally had an exhibition game so that NFL scouts could come see him play for one game because they thought the season was over. So that you got Justin Fields, who is a dual threat quarterback, and Justin Fields and Trevor Lawrence have been tied at the hip since their like senior year of high school. So
probably even before then, like when they were doing Elite 11.
I know. I was gonna say you watched it, right?
Yep.
So if you ever watched man, I always forget what his name is, dude. I swear to God. Um, it's not Vinny Testaverde. It is bald quarterback guy that Ryan Russillo loves a ton. The guy who hosts the Elite 11. I forgot what
Trent Dilfer.
Trent Dilfer. There you go. Trent Dilfer has a quarterback program that, by the way, if you ever want to get a glimpse of the dudes that are going to be good when they get to at least college, the ones in college turn out and pan out to be really good. The ones when they get to high school, I mean, when they get to the pros, really good. Um, it's called the Elite 11. It's like a quarterback centric because the money makers they say are the quarterbacks, even though there's 21 other dudes on the field. Quarterback touches the ball every single snap of the play, every single snap on offense for the most part. But yeah, Trevor Lawrence and Justin Fields came in number 1 and number 2 in the Elite 11. They are probably going to go number 1 and number 2 in the NFL draft.
Yep.
And they are both a very great blend of great elite level passing combined with the ability to move. And I don't mean like casual ability to move. I mean these dudes, when it's time to go, it's time to go. Is the kind of guy I'm talking about. So that being said, time of the stiff pocket passing quarterback is over. Anyway,
I mean, even the ones that we do see kind of staying in the pocket, like I would, for my example for that would be like Drew Lock for the Broncos. Like he's more of a pocket passer in my eyes, but he can also boot out and take off when he has to. I think he had like 3 or 4 runs on third down on Monday Night Football for the Broncos, and
right.
it's just and the opposite side of the spectrum, the pocket passer. What happened to Tom Brady? I mean,
Yeah, so we can talk about when we break down the games and everything, but I'll tell you how I got completely screwed in the game that I played. Right, so 99.35, right, 94.35 is the final score.
yeah.
Tom Brady got me 22. He got 23.35 out of Deshaun Watson. Derrick Henry got 16. Kenyon Drake got 14. So I've lost one matchup, like head to head matchup by a point, and the other one I won by 2.
Mm-hmm.
Aaron Jones at 17.6. He had Corey Clement, the secondary running back for the Philadelphia Eagles. I won that matchup. Aaron Jones is who I had, 17.6 to 4.1.
So you're
Mark
looking
Ingram
good
had
through
two.
there.
Yeah, Mark Ingram had 2.9. So as soon as I say Mark Ingram, you should be very concerned.
Yeah.
2.9. We'll talk about that a little bit later. In the running back wide receiver flex, and then Michael Gallup had 8 points, which is really good because Michael Gallup had a really good game on Sunday Night Football. Stephon Diggs has 16.6 to Odell Beckham Jr.'s 5.2. Rob Gronkowski had 3.1, which is terrible for Rob Gronkowski, but it's still something, to Tyler Higbee 7. Ronald Jones II had 10.2 to Will Fuller's 19. So like it didn't even look like the score. It doesn't even look like it was really that far apart. That was the problem. Oh, also he had the Denver Broncos defense. I had San Francisco's defense. So that was 9 points from the Broncos to the 1 point from the San Francisco defense. Fun times. I'm sure you guys really enjoyed the whole conversation about a fantasy team. Anyway, I can tune it up a little bit. I got a little faith. I'm probably gonna pull Tom Brady to put Ben Roethlisberger in, or maybe think about it. His next game, I forgot who it even is against. But yeah, I got to get rid of Marlon Mack. He's done for the season, so I got a spot open to pick somebody up, and I'm probably going to drop T. Higgins because he scored 0 points, which I think is because he got 0 reps in that game.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Unfortunate start for you there, Ashton. For on the other side of things, let's brighten some people's days. Talk about me, myself, and I real quick. Going up against my best friend Justin in week 1. The funniest thing about possibly of the entire weekend for me. So I'm sitting there in my 8 hours of watching football on Sunday, Ashton, and for those of you that have no free ads, YouTube TV. They were giving away a free weekend of the Red Zone, so I tuned into the Red Zone for free, and I'm sitting there and I'm like, man, not a single one of my players has come up on this screen yet. And I'm sitting there and I'm sitting there, and then Justin decides to text me. He goes, I could. He basically said something like, "Are you guys ever gonna score a point?" And literally from that moment, like I was losing to him by like 50 points when he texted me that. Literally from that moment on, my team just didn't stop scoring. I mean, Devontae Adams and Josh Jacobs combined for, I believe, 5 touchdowns between the pair of them. Let's see. Josh Jacobs put up 35.9 points. Aaron Rodgers 34. Devontae Adams coming in with the high point of the week, 41.6 points. Obviously, getting a little boosted off of a PPR, but still at the same point, I'll take 41.6. I'll take those. I mean, it was just from the moment I got that text from Justin, my fantasy team just turned it on. It was almost like they were in
bad. It's bad juju. He was trying to high step into the end zone, and he's not Deion Sanders. That's what the problem was, man.
Yeah, and I decided, as always, in every league that I do, I stream my defense each and every week. Went with the Chargers matchup against Cincinnati, and they came in clutch for me and got me 18 points, whereas he played the Bears defense, and somehow the Bears scored 0 points in fantasy. The Bears defense, that is, 0 points
Well,
in fantasy.
there was that one. What was that? Never mind. We'll talk about it later. So we move on here. We talked about both of our matchups there. Martin's 1-0. I'm 0-1. One of my 2 losses in fantasy, and I think it's actually 3 losses. So yeah, I won pretty much every league that I needed to, except the one that's on a fucking podcast, and the other one that's for $600.
Yep.
So yeah, all the other worthless leagues that I'm in, I won those matchups like handedly, except the ones that matter. So moving on, we got a segment here, as we always do, just like we do on the Broke Boy Sports podcast. It's called Rep Watch, like repetitions.
Yep.
Rep Watch, because if you're a real fantasy guru, real fantasy aficionado, like I fancy myself at times, you know the most important thing is not about who's going to, like, the most important thing is not about who scores the most points. It's about who has the opportunity to score the most points. So reps on this one, a couple of ones to look at here. And these all have like a weird kind of shade of like, definitely got to wait for like 2 more weeks to see if this is going to flesh itself out. We got 3 here, the Ravens, the Browns, and the Bills. The Ravens, you already know where I'm going with this. J.K. Dobbins versus Mark Ingram. 7 carries to his 10 carries. J.K. Dobbins also had 0 catches and 2 touchdowns. Nobody had over 50 yards rushing in this game, by the way, from the Ravens.
Yep.
That's how evenly dispersed their assault on the Browns was. They literally nobody just went out here and balled out of control. It was just everybody did their part, and they all kind of took a little shit on the Browns, not like a full shit on the Browns.
It was just a minor one.
Just a minor shitting on the Browns, who lost 38-6. J.K. Dobbins, who is a rookie running back out of Clemson, and it's Clemson. No, J.K. Dobbins is the one who's from
Ohio
Texas.
State. Yeah,
he went to Ohio State. He's from like
he's from here. He went to.
Is it Lampasas?
No, Lake Travis.
No, he's from like a really small town in Texas, I remember. Anyway, that's you, Martin. I'll let you get that one. J.K. Dobbins had 7 carries and 2 touchdowns. Mark Ingram had 10 carries for 29 yards. One of those is very useful for winning fantasy matchups. The other one is not. Yeah, what you got, Martin?
He was born in Houston, but he went to high school in LaGrange, not Lake Travis. It was LaGrange that he went to, which is
H-Town, hold it down.
Yeah, which is
H-Town, hold down.
LaGrange is in between Austin and Houston for those that
people probably know more about LaGrange. Like, people who know Texas probably know a lot more about LaGrange than you would think because of that ZZ Top song.
Yep.
That Texas town. Anyway, that's just a dope ass rhythm. I don't know what to tell you. Maybe it's because I'm from Texas, but that song is lit as fuck. Ravens, J.K. Dobbins versus Mark Ingram. One of them did very well. One of them did not so well. So naturally, you put like the squinty eye emoji where you're just kind of like, They did win 38-6, so I can kind of write this off as like, we don't want our starting running back to get out here and take all these unnecessary hits.
Yep.
But the 2 touchdowns makes me highly suspicious because those are red zone carries, and we don't like vultures. We don't like vultures, even if they're from Houston. J.K. Dobbins, squinty eye. I'm watching that. Moving on. The other side of the ball in that same game. This one could get weird, Martin. Nick Chubb was like top 5 in rushing last year in the NFL. 10 carries for 60 yards, and Kareem Hunt had 13 carries for 72 yards.
Yeah, Kareem Hunt finally getting a whole offseason and not being
Not
suspended.
being hurt
Yeah,
and suspended.
yeah, as the teams come out. But you were talking about opportunity and the goal line carries is what stands out, or like carries inside the 20, 25-yard line. That's where it really matters for running backs right now. And I want to say at one point, J.K. Dobbins had every single carry of theirs
Yeah,
down near the goal line. So
highly suspicious.
yeah, which tells you a lot about what they think about J.K. Dobbins over a bruising running back like Mark Ingram. But
I was gonna say, especially since J.K. Dobbins is like half the size
yeah,
of
yeah.
Mark Ingram.
So maybe it was just the case of they're playing the Browns. They were up early, didn't really have any challenge from the Browns, mainly because the defense stood out so well. Um, and we're going to get to a rookie for the Baltimore defense who really stood up in a couple of minutes. But Lamar Jackson, I mean, for a running quarterback, Ashton, 20 of 25, 275 yards, 3 touchdowns, 0 picks, a 152.1 rating, and a 94 QBR for those who pay attention to the QBR rating. Uh, just a
Nobody does.
no, yeah, just a good start to the season for what some people are predicting to be the MVP this year.
Back-to-back MVPs.
Yep.
Last one on Rep Watch. As you guessed it, it's another running back battle, and it actually maybe they're getting vultured by their quarterback. So moving, the Bills.
Yep.
Devin Singletary had 59% of the snaps. Zach Moss had 45% of just like the total snaps, total offensive snaps of the game. They finished around the same in terms of yardage, and they didn't blow out their opponent like the Ravens did. So it's a little weird that they were really out here struggling like run wise. But Josh Allen led the Bills in rushing
Yep.
on Sunday, which is highly suspicious. I'll be keeping my eyes on that. Devin Singletary, Zach Moss are definitely battling for yards.
Mm-hmm.
So keep that in mind. If he's ever available in your league, it's because depending upon the week, he could get 50. He fighting to get 50% of the carries. So
what's so weird
times.
is that they drafted Zach Moss after what I would consider a successful season for Devin Singletary. So either they just don't want to wear him down a lot, or there's something there that we don't know about that's keeping Devin Singletary off the field.
I think there's something to be said about they are looking for. I mean, like we live in a time now where a multitude of running backs is always going to get you wins. It's going to be useful because at the end of the day, you have two good running backs, even though they always talk about the whole like, you can't have two. If you have two good quarterbacks, you have none. And all that kind of jazz like that is definitely something to be said of like, if you have three like legitimate running backs that you can run, which by the way is what the 49ers did to get their asses to the Super Bowl last year. Yep. A lot of people don't point that out, but that was a huge part of it. They had Tevin Coleman and then of course Raheem Mostert, who was really dope for them, and then they were able to kind of slide some other people in there in that third spot, rotating around, and they were able to utilize that combined with the little splash of magic from Deebo Samuels, and then boom, bada bing, we don't have to have Jimmy Garoppolo throw the ball further down the field than 5 yards. Anyway.
Just really quickly, while we're hyping up Josh Allen for his week one thing to keep an eye on is he had 2 fumbles and lost both of them, and that's a little bit worrying for me personally. I don't have Josh Allen in any leagues.
Oh, it's not worrying for me. I literally don't care what the Bills do, so it's not concerning to me at all. Also, like, not much of a Josh Allen believer, but all right.
That's same here. I mean, if he's going to throw the ball a lot and run the ball a lot, I mean, we had a guy win a fantasy league with Josh Allen as his quarterback 2 years ago, I believe it was, in my main league. So can't really hate on him too much, but I'm just not that big of a fan. He's got a weird throwing motion for me personally. But the word of the day.
Oh man, QB guru Martin analyzing throwing motions out here. Oh yeah.
Just really quickly, the word of the day is probably going to be opportunity, especially with week 1. We didn't get any preseason, nothing. So this is we're literally going from 0 to 100 in 1 week. And between the two running backs, Singletary obviously more of the percent snaps. He got 7 targets, had 5 catches, didn't really get any yards out of it. But Zach Moss, 4 targets, 3 catches. So both of these running backs seem to be going to be involved a little bit in the passing game. But also, when you're playing the Jets, the Jets are so bad. You don't really have to do that much. So this would really be for me if I see a player if I'm debating a player between going against the Jets and a player that's not going against the Jets, I may lean against the player not going against the Jets just because I mean you're gonna get your team's probably gonna win, but the output I don't think is gonna be there as much as people expect.
And we move on to rookie rollout, which is a segment that we literally just talk about. Something that, if you're a draft person, you're excited to see if these dudes who have been chasing this dream of being in the NFL for such a long period of time can go out here and ball out of control. There's three guys that we got listed here. One of them, of course, is J.K. Dobbins, who keeps coming up. And I don't really like that because, once again, I cannot reiterate enough. I have Mark Ingram in multiple leagues, and J.K. Dobbins' success and living out his dream is really fucking up my opportunity to talk shit to my friends, and I don't like that. But yeah, no, shout out to J.K. Dobbins, first game of the year, man. Of course, the other one, the other big rookie who showed up and showed out was Clyde Edwards-Helaire, who a lot of people predicted would go out there and ball out of control, and he did so. Week one, he ran all over the Houston Texans defense, had a couple of rough ones at the end of in the second half when they were trying to run out the clock. They keyed in on Clyde Edwards-Helaire because they're trying to kill the clock, and there's only one effective way to do that, and it's really run the ball. He went out there and did that. He did his thing. It was pretty effective and dope to watch him still be able to break through and get some of those key runs off the front and get some good reads, man. It's hard being a running back in the NFL because it takes so much athleticism to be able to just be average at being a running back in the NFL. And clearly him and Clyde Edwards-Helaire and J.K. Dobbins have what it takes, man. 2 touchdowns, especially from a team that was a game away from going to the Super Bowl a year ago, being like, hey, yeah, dude who was in college a year ago and is under the age of 22, we trust you to go out here and lead this team to a dub. The other guy still plays for the Ravens, has a dope-ass name, I'm not going to lie, Patrick Queen, linebacker from LSU, 4 tackles, 4 assists, and 1 sack for the Baltimore Ravens when they were in the process of shitting on the Cleveland Browns. Pulled down the pants, no toilet paper afterwards, just unloaded on him. Another guy, really glad to give a shout out to this dude, Kenneth Murray Jr., first NFL game ever, starting middle linebacker for the LA Chargers, 4 solo tackles. He finished 8th in tackles in week one of the NFL season. And if you don't know, Kenneth Murray is a guy that we used to cover when he was in high school. He played for Elkins High School, and we covered him back when he was a safety. So it's always great to see him go out there and succeed. He had 4 tackles in his first game ever, and they got that win, most importantly.
Looks like they may have readjusted Murray's tackles because I have him in an IDP fantasy league that I'm in, and it says that he had 8 tackles week one. So I don't know if the
It's
NFL
probably assist.
Maybe
Assisted tackles, because I know some
it might add
some
up.
leagues just count them all together.
True. They may. I'll have to go and dive deeper into that one. But Kenneth Murray stepping up to the plate, and
Yeah,
Patrick Queen.
he had 4 solo and 4 assisted to
Oh,
combine
okay.
for 8.
Oh,
Yeah.
gotcha. Okay. That makes more sense. All right. So Patrick Queen, Ashton, I'm going to be spending a lot of time beating my own drum today because of the week one fantasy team or outputs that I had, and also some of the calls that I made are just they were just spot. I'm just going to brag about myself for a second. I nailed week one. The Arizona Cardinals. I mean, they came out flying. But Patrick Queen, when I said on last week's on the Thursday episode that he could be the next great linebacker for the Baltimore Ravens, I was not kidding.
That's
And
right. After week 1, he's great.
he is the greatest
That's
of all time,
1 week.
especially
1
after
week.
because I said he would have a good week. He's also going up against Houston this next week, so we'll see how he does against Sean Watson instead of a team led by Baker Mayfield.
All right, we don't need any more Baker slander out here. It's hard. I mean, he's out here baking in a really gross kitchen, guys. He's trying to cook up these donuts, and nobody's really helping. Nobody's helping him with the glaze. Nobody's helping him knead the dough. He's just out here cooking by himself, guys. It's
Overthrowing a lot
unacceptable.
of overthrow under. Yeah. He also
I
spent.
don't know if you guys. Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say, look, remember when he had his awesome rookie season, and then last year there was commercials that he did for I can't remember what company, where it was literally just like Baker Mayfield, like 3 different times in an ad break, and then he had a terrible season, and we thought he was not going to do as many commercials, but it looks as if though somebody may have been having some little extra, either that or they had some leftover commercials from when they recorded it with Baker Mayfield because
Yeah, he said on a podcast I listened to that they had actually more commercials to run.
okay,
But hey, I mean, I'm just saying, Baker, get this money while you can,
true.
dog. Because I mean, at the end of the day, man, y'all trying to talk about Baker Mayfield's trash as if the Cleveland Browns don't have like this illustrious history of just destroying people's careers. Like, anyway,
True.
um, moving on. Other rookies to talk about. I don't know if you heard about this or not, Martin. Chase Young is pretty fucking good.
Hell yeah, he is. I was a little skeptical. We saw all those videos of the Washington football team hyping him up with one-on-one blocks against backup left tackles and right tackles. Looks like he might actually be legit coming in there. 2 sacks, a forced fumble, and a lot of people crediting him with being one of the spearheads of the Washington turning around because they went into
Yeah,
halftime.
I call
Was
bullshit on that because Ryan Kerrigan's been really good for a long time, and that's just my biggest beef. Like people talk about, like Ryan Kerrigan literally has the most sacks since he got into the NFL, and a lot of people just like pretend he doesn't exist,
hmm
and that's what it frustrates me quite a bit. Um, Also, I forgot Janoris Jenkins is on Washington
hmm,
because I
didn't know
on the
that.
podcast I was like, you could argue their defense has gotten worse, even though Janoris was there last year. They definitely didn't. They went out there and they played really well against a team that we think is good right now.
hmm
Is the way I'll preface that statement. So, anyway, yeah, shout out Chase Young, bro. First NFL game, got 2 sacks, and a forced fumble, and a high rating on. I'm sure that was mostly by like amount of time it took him to beat his offensive lineman, which, once Lane Johnson is out and Brandon Brooks is no longer available and
Yeah.
you don't have your right tackle from a year ago, it makes it. I think I could beat a couple of those guys out there. But yeah, shout out to Chase Young, went out there and did the thing. Him and Ryan Kerrigan, the entire Washington defensive line went out there. They got 8 sacks in total on that game. Fucking crazy. It probably would have been more, but Carson Wentz can run a little bit, so he probably had some of those plays where he got to the line of scrimmage and it's not a sack. But yeah, they cooked their asses like straight up. A couple of and Martin pointed this out. This is actually really good. Rookie wide receivers, they did pretty well. I can't lie. The
Yeah.
only one that I would say didn't do well is Justin Jefferson. And I think it's a product of Kirk Cousins. Anyway, he got targeted 3 times in the entire game.
Yep.
And
Well,
anyway,
it
we
wasn't
can
until
talk about. We can talk. Okay, there's a segment coming up a little bit later on in the show called 10 Things You Didn't Need to Know. One of the things in that list is that Kirk Cousins threw 5 passes in the first half of his game versus the Packers.
that's what I was about.
The previous low was 7 in the first half, which was last year versus the Falcons.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Anyway,
They just
I
don't
mean,
like
hey
throwing the
man,
ball with them. They don't. They gave him a lot of money. Don't trust
like
them.
I don't get it, bro. Like
Yeah.
I mean, I'm telling you right now, whoever his agent is, they need to put him in the fucking Hall of Fame because they convinced the Vikings that a quarterback who has shown them no ability to be an elite top tier passer is worth even more money than they had already guaranteed for him, which is $100 million.
Yeah.
Anyway, um,
Um, but look, I'm just looking over here. The first round wide receivers, other than Justin Jefferson, Henry Rugg. What this is? Just pay attention with me while I go through the stats because all of their numbers eerily similar. So Henry Ruggs, 5 catches for 55 yards, no touchdown. All right, let me go over to Jerry Judy. Oh, hold on, I just clicked on something I shouldn't have. Jerry Judy, let me pull his stats up real quick. 8 catches for 56 yards, 1 yard difference. All right, let's go down to CD Lamb. How many yards did he have? 6 catches for 59 yards. Let's go down to Jalen Rager. 1 catch for 55 yards. So Ashton, literally the top 4 drafted wide receivers in this past draft, who I am hyping up as after my of everything I'm taking away from week 1. this wide receiver class is the best wide receiver class of round one receivers I've ever taken. And that's a week one overreaction if there's ever been one. But it is crazy to me that all four of them put up the exact same amount of yards and almost the exact same amount of catches. And like you said, Justin Jefferson, unfortunately, he's my favorite of the lot and got put in the worst situation in Minnesota. And then Brandon Ayuk, I believe he was a he was limited in practice all week, but I don't know if he actually played or not. I can't seem to find if he was out or just didn't get a single target. But
By the way, Jerry Judy fucking carried the Broncos
yep.
on what would turn out to be their final scoring drive. He had a lot of, I mean, dude, the guy, like when you watch him play, he's got pop in his legs, bro. It's crazy. It's highly explosive, and a lot of people were pointing out that his best ability is his ability to stop, because when you're fast, it's really cool to be fast. It's even cooler to be fast and be able to stop.
Yeah.
And Jerry Judy's ability to stop on a dime or like stop on a quarter is insane. And it'll take him a long way, especially in terms of like avoiding getting fucking annihilated in the middle of the field. But yeah, Jerry Judy killed it on Monday Night Football. CeeDee Lamb slid in there like he was actually really helpful, man. I'm not gonna lie. He had one catch that was like they kind of tossed it out to him and they knew what the Rams knew what it was and they jammed him backwards like
Mm-hmm.
for a loss or whatever. But then after that, he caught like a couple of them. He got a couple of yards after the catch, which was good to see. I liked what I saw, especially considering it gives Dak Prescott a third guy to throw to. You talk about like Michael Gallup, who may be one of the best second number two wide receivers in the NFL right now when it's all said and done, and then the best number two wide receiver in any team's roster right now in the NFL, especially based off of what happened in Week 1. And I mean, I don't know about you, man. Amari Cooper, he when he touched that ball, he took off. Like I mean, it was. I know it's the timing and everything that goes along with it, but it's just crazy to me how explosive like NFL wide receivers are sometimes, and to think that like guys like Amari Cooper, who looks like super swole, like just gigantically physical, is still able to just like as soon as he touches the ball, he's already like 5 yards down the field. And you saw that what looks to be something that the Cowboys can build upon despite losing that game,
Yeah.
which wasn't surprised that they lost that game when it was all said and done, especially considering what happened on the defense. Something super sad happened again. Sean Lee is out for another. Sean Lee's out again for this entire season, and he's had one complete season since he joined the NFL, and he was top 5 in tackles that one season. And we'll talk about another guy
Yeah.
a little
But
bit later on.
just rewind it back to CeeDee Lamb really quick. So he had possibly the first three quarters great, but I hate agreeing with my Cowboys friends in my group chat. So there was the fourth down play that everybody is criticizing Mike McCarthy for not kicking the field goal to tie it. If you go back and watch, he calls a crossing route. We can all agree there's pick plays in the NFL, even though they don't always get called. This was
They're
100%.
totally. I mean, they're legal as
Yeah,
long as they're within 1 yard of the line of scrimmage, which
yeah,
they never are.
yeah. So for whatever reason, they call or I am all I'm for the play call for going for it. However, CeeDee Lamb runs a crossing route 1 yard behind the first down marker. And everybody knows you're taught on third and fourth down on a crossing route like that, you run it beyond the yard to gain. You don't run it and expect to catch the ball and turn up the field and get it. You run it so that you catch it and you've already got the first down. And the worst part about it was so he catches it, doesn't get the first down. He didn't get another target in the game from Dak until the very last throw of the game from Dak Prescott that he overthrew CeeDee Lamb on. So I I, I don't want to say it because I've got CeeDee Lamb in a couple of leagues, but I think Dak lost a little bit of trust in him when he saw the route and saw what CeeDee Lamb did because he didn't even like the Cowboys fans were literally like irate in the group chat saying like why the fuck is he not looking at CeeDee Lamb for the entire quarter? And I went back and looked and his last target before the very last throw in the game was the fourth down play. And so there's something that needs to be said. Either CD's got to run the right route, or if it's on Mike McCarthy for calling that, and I don't know. But for not getting a target after that play, it kind of it speaks alarm to me.
Yeah, and of course it's gonna take time. It's week one, so of course we're all micro analyzing every single thing
Yeah.
until week two, right? And
Yeah.
then we'll do that to week two, and then of course we'll know exactly what's going to happen 15 weeks from now, when the NFL playoffs start, right? So anyway, moving on, we have an award to give out here, Martin. We
Yep.
have an award to give out here for the nuke of the week, the fantasy nuclear bomb of the week. That one player that, fucked you up pretty bad. Fucked everybody up, not just me or you. That one player who you're looking at and you're like, God damn. Either you're glad you had him, or you're terrified that, or you're really sad that you played against him because he was the difference between you winning and losing a game. We've all been in that position. If you play fantasy long enough, aka more than a year, you've known that somebody will have like a random fluke player on the field or on the fluke player on their roster, and then the starter gets hurt, and then that person runs for 3 touchdowns, 400 yards, and all kinds of shit like that, set some kind of record that they will never ever eclipse ever again, right, Martin? We all know this. Like people who were high on Jonas Gray, or the people who've been waiting for Robbie Anderson to have an amazing game again. Which, by the way, if you saw week one, for all my people who have Robbie Anderson in their league, this is the year. This is the big one. It's finally here. The big year that we've been expecting for Robbie Anderson for 4 years is finally here. Anyway, fantasy nuke of the week. Russell Wilson, Mr. Unlimited, baby. Mr. Unlimited. 31 for 35, 322 yards, 4 touchdowns, and most importantly, 0 turnovers.
Yep.
Depending upon what league you're in, because if you're in my league where we have IDPs, I hit you for 6 points if you turn the ball over. So it's bad. It's bad. 322, 4 TDs. By the way, nobody's talking about it. Matt Ryan threw for 400 fucking yards in week one. Like,
I literally just looked at the box score while you were talking about Russell Wilson, and like my eyes wandered over to Atlanta, and I was like, 450 yards, 54 passes.
by the way,
Jeez.
3 Falcons wide receivers finished in the top 10 for receiving yards this week.
Oh my god.
And they got annihilated. They weren't even close to winning that game.
No, they weren't.
That's the most Falcons thing of all time. That's why that's why everybody's gonna be kind of mad when Matt Ryan gets inducted into the Hall of Fame, because he's gonna have all these records and nothing to show for it. So anyway, Matt Ryan doing his job. And I would say, honest on this one, Scout's honor. I listened to this on the radio because I was coming back from my girlfriend's house in Conroe, and it's 40 minutes away from my house. So I listened to this one on the radio, and they had the Falcons defense, despite all them points they gave up, kind of looked all right. Like they had a couple of sacks. They had a couple of sacks at key points. Who they really couldn't stop was Chris Carson, who had, Chris Carson, 2 receiving touchdowns, baby, under 50 yards rushing. Gotta love it.
So it's one of those weird stats. Like Russell Wilson's a fantasy nuke. Chris Carson had one of those. Just like, wait, how did he get all of his points? You gotta go search through the box score just to see, because like you look at his rushing,
on a screen and caught on a curl route.
Yeah,
love
6 for 21, and then you go down six rushes, 21 yards, and then 6 catches, 45 yards. Oh, by the way, 2 touchdowns. He was also targeted 6 times and caught it 6 times, so that's 100% catch rate.
Versatility,
right
baby. Yeah. That's what they call the best ability is availability. Chris Carson always available for Mr. Unlimited's passes. Check that out. Also, congratulations to Sierra and Russell Wilson. They had their kid.
Oh yeah.
I think like the day before the season, or like a couple days before the season, because he posted a video. He posted a photo, and I think, Martin, it was Lil Future, and then the new kid. Like the kid, like Lil Future was in Russell Wilson's lap, and then in Lil Future's lap was the newborn. So shout out to them. Russell Wilson, as always, just dominating life. Russell Wilson is high on life at all times, and there's nobody who can stop him.
Dude, he's always got a smile on his face. He's one of those people. It's like, why are you always happy? But Ashton, I've got a quick question before we get into the topic that we don't want to talk about. Last Thursday.
Go ahead.
Last Thursday, so we're 1 week in. We both gave out our Super Bowl predictions. I said the Pittsburgh Steelers. You said the Seattle Seahawks. After seeing them win 38-25 and seeing the rest of the league perform, where are you on your picking the Seahawks to win the Super Bowl?
Oh, I'm highly concerned.
Okay.
Yeah, the secondary play is fucking ridiculous. Matt Ryan, like, let's be honest, like Matt Ryan is the gatekeeper for the top 10 quarterbacks in the NFL.
Yeah.
And what did we talk about? What did we start the show talking about, Martin? The age of the single threat quarterback. That's what we should start calling them.
Single threat. Yeah.
Single threat
You got
quarterback.
dual threat and single
It's to
threat.
use it
Yes.
they use dual threat as a slur to demoralize like running quarterbacks who are really good at passing and running. We'll use single threat to minimize the importance of pocket passing quarterbacks. Single threat quarterbacks like Matt Ryan. You know, there's gonna be a whole lot of other things they got to explain. By the way, nobody mentioned this, but they cut Shaquille Griffin. Nobody really talked about that. That was really sad. Anyway, Shaquem. Whew, if you're in an IDP league, I think Shaquem Griffin, which by the way, I mentally made like a note of it because everybody, like an IDP league with corners, everybody always goes for the best corners. And if you know anything about shutdown corners, there's one thing that they don't get: tackles.
Yep.
So
that's why
you need the corners who are defending like slot receivers because they'll end up tackling more because they get more opportunities. Once again, baby, fantasy lessons, kids. That's what we're here to educate you about. It's about opportunities, not about what you get. It's about what you could get. That's fantasy. Anyway, go ahead.
His name is, God, what's his name? The Panthers. The old cornerback that
Josh Norman.
Josh Norman. Why couldn't I think? I was thinking Newman, but I was like, that's not right.
Josh Norman is also on IR now.
Yeah, he used to be that, like, for some reason, people would draft him in IDP leagues, but people wouldn't throw his direction, so he would never get tackles or interception. He was literally a shutdown corner. But
if you're one of the people who had Stephon Gilmore, which I'm assuming some people did this past week, you got lucky. That'll be the one time somebody was dumb enough to throw it towards Stephon Gilmore. When that happened, I saw the alert come by, and I was like, it's the year 2020. Y'all motherfuckers still throwing at Stephon Gilmore.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Ashton, anyway. Did you see the quote from Jamal Adams after the game?
Oh, yeah, man. That was brutal. He's like, I'd never seen anything like that.
Yeah. He was
a team that can score more than 4 touchdowns. A quarterback that threw him.
What was your biggest takeaway from week 1? I think was the question. He was like, "Oh, I'm not used to the offense scoring 38 points." Like, oh my God, like it'll be half the season before the Jets score 38 points this season.
Y'all remember that one time Sam Darnold had mono, and then the backup quarterback from I think it was Luke Falk broke his leg, and then the other backup quarterback also broke his leg. I'm just kidding. That actually happened to the Washington football team, if you recall. Alex Smith broke his leg, and then Colt McCoy broke his leg.
Yep.
So that happened. But anyway, Luke Falk really did break his leg. I want to say, once again, it was J.J. Watt who did it. I want to say it was no, it couldn't be. Or was it T.J. Watt? Which would be weird because J.J. and T.J. would now have broken somebody. J.J. broke Alex Smith's leg, if y'all recall. Alex Smith's leg got caught in the ground, if you remember that. Like, his cleat got caught, and JJ, like, fell on top of him, and then it broke his leg, which is understandable because JJ's big as fuck, and life is cruel like that. But the Luke Falk guy, if you remember that, he broke his, like mid-leg kind of area, and it was, like, kind of dangling, and it was literally because he was trying to spin out of a tackle, and then somebody else hit him, and it broke his leg. Anyway.
Yeah, so your prediction.
Russell Wilson doesn't break his legs because nobody touches him.
Yeah, so you're wavering a little bit on the Seahawks. You're still there for them.
I'm just kidding.
Oh, okay.
Mr. Unlimited, untouchable, baby. You know what time it is.
Yeah. So I went for the Steelers, and I'm still
Steelers.
I'm still gonna sit. I mean, obviously, I'm gonna sit on them like the whole year. Like they were my pick at the start of the year, but you can waver through
that. I'm just saying, Big Ben looked like that arm was. Looked like he was warming it up there a little bit.
They looked all right, but only beating the Giants 26-16.
Yeah.
Are the Giants better than we thought they would be?
Oh no, they're trash.
Oh, okay.
The people who are shocked that Saquon Barkley has 6 yards. I implore you to think about this. There's a collection of people, including myself, that was shocked he finished with positive yards.
Yeah, it was rough.
Because, I mean, they put that dude through the ringer, bro. Like, oh my God. By the way, there's one thing to point out here. nobody's really talking about it anymore because Eric Flowers ain't on the team anymore to make fun of. The Giants still have one of the worst offensive lines in the NFL,
Oh yeah.
and nobody's addressing it. Like, for all you people that hate Bill O'Brien, they had a record high season in sacks with Deshaun Watson, right? And what did he do? He went and solved the problem. He literally, like, getting Laramie Tunsil and then getting Nick Martin back healthy and getting a couple of other draft picks to slide into the offensive line positioning, they dropped the sack numbers by 20 sacks from one season to the next. Don't you think Martin, don't you think Daniel Jones would like to get sacked 20 less times this year?
Yeah, you
I
got
would love for Daniel Jones to not get sacked. I would love for him to get sacked 20 less times this year. I kid you not. I love it when good defensive ends or good D tackles play against the Giants line, because it always ends up on my Instagram feed. Because I love defensive lineman videos, and they make offensive linemen in the NFL look like just fat dudes. They just make them look like they're fighting it. They super athletic dude versus fat dude, and that's the worst feeling, because when you're offensive lineman who always gets beat, you're just a fat dude, and that's what hurts the most.
I don't know
Just
how recent this is, but I just had something come down here, Ashton, and this is actually going to transition into our next segment. That we're kind of burying the lead here a little bit because this is the least favorite part of the NFL season, and just week in week out is the injuries. And we'll just start with probably the biggest fantasy name on the list to get hurt. Michael Thomas is expected to be out on Monday
wow,
against the
dude.
Raiders with a high ankle sprain. And anybody, Ashton and I, hands up, we are not medical experts, but we have been in the sport and fans of the sport to know high ankle sprains are nothing to joke about. And the play that it happened on, it sucked. It was late in the game. He was blocking, and the play kind of just came his way. And you even saw him look behind and see the play going into his leg, and he was like trying to
Oh
get out
yeah.
of the way and got caught up underneath. And oh, it's the worst.
If you ever watch happen to offensive linemen, it's called getting rolled up.
Yep.
And there's nothing you can do about it because it's literally like four grown ass men, and in the case of the NFL, four grown ass men that are mostly muscle
Yep.
that have lost control of their body, and the only thing between them and the ground just so happens to be every ligament in your leg.
But
It'd be like that.
before he got hurt and went out, and remember this, late in the game is when he went out. 5 targets, 3 catches, 17 yards, no touchdowns. Um, if he was fully healthy, how worried are you about that stat line, Ashton?
You talking about like in terms
Just
of
just production value. Like, it just, we don't expect the number one wide receiver drafted overall and the 99 overall on Madden to go 3 for 17.
first of all, it's week one. Second of all, y'all put so much stock. Like, that's the problem with most of y'all, man. Y'all put so much stock in what happened last year. This is a new season. Like, it's a whole new year that coaches have had an entire summer and then some, because they've been stuck at home, to just sit back and watch film on teams, dude. And then don't forget, and Martin, a lot of people forget to point this out. Buccaneers are top 10 defense.
Hmm.
Top 10 defense last season, despite the having to fight off the 30 interceptions plus like the 12 fumbles. I
Yeah.
think it was. Or I want to say it was like 5 fumbles. I don't know why I said 12. All the shit that happened with Jameis Winston, they still found their way into being rated as one of the best defenses in the NFL. So for you guys to be shocked that they can't, like that Michael Thomas, who for all intents and purposes is the only good wide receiver next to Emmanuel Sanders on that team, right?
Mhm.
And for you to be surprised that he's not performing well, which, by the way, that reminds me, I need to start Emmanuel Sanders this week. But yeah, it sucks for Michael Thomas. I hope he's all right, man, because that shit can hurt like a motherfucker. Like, dudes, it fucks up your whole season sometimes. Like, I'm not gonna lie, because you'll spend so much time, you'll spend a ton of time wondering if shit's broken in your leg in terms of like microfractures, and then if it is, like, you can't do anything about it. Like, it's just you have to let it heal up.
Yeah, it's like one
So
of those, like, when players come back from the ACL and they talk about like that first cut that they make after being cleared to play, it's always
yeah.
the first cut after having surgery or coming back from an injury is the hardest part. And a high ankle sprain, that goes right in there with the ACL. Like, it is that first cut that he's gonna do when he's cleared he's gonna do it slower than he normally would, just to ease back
So,
into it, I guess.
so we talk about Michael Thomas, and it leads us into the injury segment. If you listen to the podcast before. It's called The Big Hurt, is what I used to call it. But we'll just call it injury segment. But for now, we'll just call it the injury segment because it's the worst part about football.
Well, we could call it Big Hurt because there is a big number of players, and
the Big Hurt, which is in reference to wow, never mind. I'll figure out that reference later. It was.
Wasn't there a football player named?
You hurt.
Oh God! It only took us 92 episodes.
My empire of dirt. I will make you, whatever that song is. You guys know what it is. Somebody hit me up in the chat or on Facebook at FB_Playbook. The Big Hurt is actually the name of a football player. It's not a football player, but a baseball player, and it's Hank Thomas, right?
Hank Thomas. Yeah, Frank Thomas.
That's who it was. Frank Thomas. There you go. Injuries on this one in the Big Hurt segment. Le'Veon Bell, running back for the New York Jets, got lucky that he got hurt, so he doesn't have to. Deal with playing for the Jets for about 3 weeks.
As a Le'Veon Bell owner, how dare you?
I'm just saying, every second he can spend chipping away at that clock where they still have to pay him for showing up and he not have to play is a win for Le'Veon Bell because the sooner he gets out of there, the better. So it's been a rough year for Le'Veon Bell, man. First, both of his girlfriends dump him and rob him, and then he breaks up with his boyfriend Jamal Adams on Twitter. That sucks. And now this, which by the way is a direct product of not having preseason.
See, I wanted to bring that up.
You have to wonder if this injury would have happened 4 weeks ago, no matter what, right? That's the thing that always pops up into my head. I'm like, was this just gonna happen no matter what? And it just so happens to be the first time that you played in a football game, because that could have been 4 weeks ago if we were playing in the preseason, and that could be this week, right? So
I think injuries are so not fluke. They happen so often, but they're so random at the same time. If that makes any sense, that
yes,
even if it's preseason or if it's week 1, and a player gets hurt, they get hurt. There's no.
Some people try and use that. Some people try and use that as a tool against players, as a reason of that's why that guy sucks.
Oh yeah, it's injury history, or not sucks, but I won't draft a player if they have an injury history. But the fact that I don't know. There was a lot of injuries.
Which surprises me because a lot of you motherfuckers drafted Dalvin Cook in the first round. But whatever. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about that later, when he gets hurt.
Let's get through some more of these injuries because it's a list.
Devontae Parker, who had a really killer last 6 games of the season with Ryan Fitzpatrick. Ryan Fitzpatrick really needed his ass on Sunday, and he did not have him because hamstring. That's what happens when you fast. See, that's the perks of being like me, dog. Be slow. Be slow. You may not be a millionaire like Devontae Parker. You may not have abs and dope tattoos like Devontae Parker. You may not get to wear those dope Dolphins uniforms on Sunday, but I tell you what, you won't pull your hamstring. You got to be fast to do that kind of shit. Anyway.
Yeah, I'm just looking at some of the updates that have come out since he got hurt in the game. ESPN is saying that he is likely to be out for a bit. And then a couple hours later, the same guy for ESPN reported that instead of being out for a bit, he just won't practice Monday and Tuesday this week, and they will readjust as the week goes on.
That's a big ass jump.
Yeah. So he's either going to be out a while.
He's going to be out for a couple weeks. Yeah. Nah, man, he just missed a practice for 2 days. Don't worry.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, sounds like some bullshit that the team would tell you,
so
that they don't have to put him on IR.
Yeah.
Anyway, even though short-term IR is a thing now, I think it's 3 weeks, right?
Yeah,
eligible to come back for 3 weeks.
It's 3 to 6. So here's the thing. So the next guy we're going to get to, so David Njoku, he's on short-term IR with an MCL strain, right? But he is out for 5 weeks and can't come back for 5 weeks. Le'Veon Bell, who's also on short-term IR, could possibly come back after 3 weeks.
Which is clutch for the teams and for the players because the players get their money on IR, which is the most important part of the situation. But the team also gets that spot back, and they get to go find somebody else to fill that role. But yeah, David Njoku, man, who actually had the only touchdown for the Browns on Sunday, right?
I believe so, because they missed the extra point.
Yeah, he had the only touchdown for the Browns on Sunday, and is currently kind of in a battle with Austin Hooper for that number 1 tight end spot, which means that Austin Hooper, come on down.
Yeah.
You're the new starting tight end for the Cleveland Browns, buddy. What do
Yeah.
you have to say?
Yeah. Well, he said 2 targets, 2 catches for only 15 yards.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. Don't remind me. I have him in another league. Uh, that should be like the motto of this show. I have him in another league. Don't. Marlon Mack, man, and I
oh,
blame Martin for this one.
no, don't blame me, man.
I blame Martin for this one. He talked mad shit about Marlon Mack during our live fantasy draft episode. And he was like, man, Marlon Mack just has a cool name for when he comes back from injury. I guess we're going to have to play Return to the Mac because Marlon Mack's out for the entire season because he tore his Achilles, which, by the way, fucking sucks because Marlon's a really good football player. And I don't know about him as a person, but he's a really talented football player. By the way, if it wasn't for Phillip Rivers, I would really like the Colts. I just want to put that out there. If I would really like the Colts.
What do you not like about
it.
Phillip Rivers? What's he ever done for you to not like him?
Like all of last year, the whole like yelling at defensive linemen like directly into their face and then having the referee come defend him because he can't get hit. He's the weakest person on the field at any given moment and tries to talk mad shit to the strongest people on the field at any given moment, but it's not about the fight. I mean, Phillip Rivers is basically Joe Kelly.
He also won't cuss at you either. That's the joke. That's always
that.
with
He
Phillip
won't cuss
Rivers.
at you with a mic on. So, and you know what? I respect that about Phillip Rivers because he thinks it'll help him be a better person, which
Fuck
some people
that.
are. Yeah, no, but Martin, there's something to be said. Like, he's trying to be a better person. We know people in our lives and in the world that's not trying to be better people. Phillip Rivers thinks that's going to help him be a better father, a better person, and maybe it will because he got 27 kids, so he's going to be a father for a really long time.
Really?
He's
how?
He's got another kid on the way, guys.
How
Not
the
even joking.
fuck did the Jaguars beat the Colts, dude? Like, that was another thing. I was texting my friend Justin, and we were literally like,
Gardner Minshew.
"Oh my god, I'm gonna disrespect him until the day he retires. He is not that good."
Martin, y'all may have already pictured Trevor Lawrence in that teal and green. Y'all motherfuckers didn't tell Gardner Minshew that. Like, you didn't tell Gardner Minshew that somebody else is coming to get his job, and that's gonna be a problem until I swear to God, them people at the facility probably trying to trip that boy every time he walks down.
There's gonna be a random injury. Hunter Minshew hit his head getting out of the car this morning.
Gardner Minshew in the kneecaps. Somebody hit Gardner Minshew in the kneecaps with a baton.
They've already won one more game than we thought they were gonna win this year. But that, like I was gonna say, so Jess and I were texting, and we were literally like halfway through about halftime. It was 17-14 at halftime, and we were literally crowning the Colts as AFC South champions because there's no other team in the AFC South that is even remotely going to put up a challenge this year. And then they go and score 3 points in the rest of the second half, and the Jaguars somehow come back and beat them. Like, how do you let the tanking for Trevor Jacksonville Jaguars beat you?
They didn't let him. They took it.
Oh, dude, like it just.
Anyway.
Because now the Titans and the Titans got to win. The fucking Jaguars got to win. Everything's upside down.
I'd like to point out that the Jaguars were one field goal kick away from starting off the season in standalone first place in the AFC South.
Yeah.
Now they're just tied for first place. Anyway,
it's ridiculous, dude. Ridiculous. The Colts should be walking away with the AFC South this year, and they'd fucking lose the first game of the season.
Big facts. Justin Jackson here.
Yeah, I'm still trying to get more updates on Justin Jackson. He got hurt early in the game, the running back for the San Diego Chargers, and he's listed as day to day.
Wow, Martin, they spent all that money to rebrand as the LA Chargers.
I do it every fucking time. Los Angeles Chargers.
Hey, Martin, you saw him in person. The uniforms. What did you think?
Oh, I'm a fan. Any team that puts the numbers on their helmets, I'm gonna be a fan of automatically.
So you like the Colts?
Huh? I like all of it. I like the Washingtons. Washingtons were probably the best uniforms that I saw this weekend. The Chargers looked nice.
What about the Rams? The Rams with the off white.
The Rams
with the dirty white that I didn't put I washed this white clothes with only other white clothes, but I didn't put bleach on them.
Yeah.
White. That's what it. The blue was popping.
The blue pops. The thing I don't, and we brought this up when they released it. The logo what is going on with the
Yeah,
logo on the
yeah, yeah.
shoulder?
That was weird, right? We talked about that when they did like the little 3D mock-up. It was still there, and we were like, that
It
is
doesn't
just
look good.
like y'all just stitched the logo on a patch and then put it on the whatever.
Like if you can put those numbers on like you did, you can put Los Angeles Rams on there the exact same way because it's two different color whites. Like it just doesn't.
Maybe it's to add a sponsor on or something later on.
Dude,
I
I
don't
don't know.
know,
It
bro.
just looks bad. But Justin Jackson for the Los Angeles Chargers hurt his quad. He's going to be day to day, according to one of the reporters for the Orange County Register. Some people were kind of sneaky on Justin Jackson because they hate Austin Eckler for some reason. Justin Jackson was supposed to be.
You know who hates Austin Eckler too?
Who?
Melvin Gordon. That's why he moved to Denver.
Yeah, that's true. But Justin Jackson, he's day to day. This next one we're gonna get to. When it happened, the fantasy world stood still for a second. George Kittle got hit, I believe it was by Buda Baker.
Wait, so George is the real name, right?
Yeah,
Greg's the one that they made. Greg's the one that all
yeah,
them
it's
made
George.
up.
It's George Greg Kittle.
Okay, a PMT. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So George Kittle. It was, I believe it was
I
what?
get it mixed. Like, there's so many times where I'm just like,
Yeah,
these motherfuckers keep calling him by his wrong name on
Hey,
purpose, and I
it's
get
alright.
it mixed up all the time. Like,
I still call him the San Diego Chargers like it's nothing. But yeah, George Greg Kittle, whatever you want to call him. He
George.
he was an awkward tackle by Buda Baker, and his legs got caught up underneath him. He stayed down for a minute. He was able to hobble off. He's listed. He's got a knee sprain. Day to day is what the team is calling it. He actually
And
came back
he
in.
had another pass where like he got hit in the head,
Yeah,
like direct head-to-head contact, and everybody was amazed that he just kind of got up
got
and
back
walked
up.
it off.
Yeah,
I was like, oh, it's all of the day's work for a Kittle.
yeah. So it was interesting to see him come back in the game. He didn't really do much in the second half. I don't even know if he got a target, but that'll be obviously a lot of people's number one tight end coming into the year, or tied with Travis Kelce, really. So Kittle going down in week one wasn't a good sight to see. But now we move on to what was a surprising list here because it kind of flew under the radar, and it looks like he may be fine now. But Chris Godwin in that game with the Saints, where Michael Thomas went out very late, went out with a head or a neck injury. But I've been clicking around here, Ashton, for the last couple of minutes, and I believe he might be all right.
Yeah, they say that, especially when if you list somebody with a head or neck injury, Martin, what does that do? That triggers the concussion protocol. No, we don't want that now, do we?
No, they're trying everything they can to not get him put in the concussion protocol.
If you don't know, the concussion protocol takes like 5 days if you get everything 100% correct throughout the process, because you have to like pass a bunch of tests, including like an accelerated heart rate test where like they check like your mental acuity, your mental aptitude when you're tired, essentially, or like when your heart rate is at a certain level, because they think, well, you're more likely to damage your brain at a higher heart rate that's similar to the level that it was damaged at before when you do it. Anyway, it's stupid. It's not stupid. It's great because it protects athletes from themselves and, most importantly, from the team that would let them just go out there and play while they were still concussed all those days later. But hopefully Chris Godwin is actually okay, and they're not doing that thing where, oh, we have to list the injury that everybody saw.
Yeah.
And the doctor can't necessarily lie, so he's got a head or neck injury. He's all right now. Anyway.
We've already
Blake
mentioned.
Jarwin.
Yep.
Blake Jarwin, that's super sad. If you didn't see it, Blake Jarwin made a cut like in open field, and it was like textbook torn ACL. He grabbed his knee, and I'm sure it hurt like a motherfucker because it usually does for most people. But Blake Jarwin tore his ACL. He's on season-ending IR. So hopefully he's all right soon. Wishing him a speedy recovery. That shit look like it hurt.
Yeah, a couple of the Cowboys fans that I'm friends with actually blaming the field, the turf that the Rams are playing on.
The grass is fast. The grass is fast.
It is fast, but I don't know. There was something about just the way it looked. I don't know.
Do we need to talk about the science of turf versus actual grass, because we really don't have the 7 hours that it takes to have that discussion.
It just
about why like turf, because of its ability to snap, like because of its ability to hinder your legs from cutting, or its ability to increase the amount of pressure you can put on a single cleat when you make a cut, thus increasing the amount of pressure you put on your ACL and torque and everything like that, which could, subsequently tear things in your knee.
Yep. And so unfortunate for Blake Jarwin. And I don't know if you've seen this, Ashton, or not, but it is blowing up like as we speak. The group chat that I'm in. Apparently, Des Bryant wants to play tight end for the Cowboys.
I'm sure he does. Moving on. Des Bryant is on his annual. Des Bryant on his annual tour to let me back in the NFL. Verbal meme. Eric Andre at the White House holding onto the fence, pretending he's being electrocuted, yelling "Let me in." That's the meme.
Yeah.
Leighton Vander Esch,
This is,
linebacker for the Dallas Cowboys. This is a rough one too, man.
yep.
It's the second year in a row he's had a neck-related injury, and this time it's a broken collarbone. He had surgery today. It's Tuesday, September 5th. So he's supposed to be out 6 to 8 weeks. That is September 15th. Sorry. Happy Hispanic Heritage Month. Shout out to all of our Hispanic brothers and sisters out there listening to the show. Leighton Vander Esch, 6 to 8 weeks, man. It's hard to believe that that's how long it's going to take for him to come back from a broken collarbone and be ready to play an NFL game. But hey, he is a next level freak athlete. And by the way, I've never seen a dude with a neck roll get hurt so much.
Yeah,
That neck roll,
it's literally the opposite.
That neck roll is betraying him.
Yeah.
Even though the neck roll is not in charge of the kind of concussion that he got last year, if you remember.
Mm-hmm.
I think he like broke something in his neck, right? It was he got hit from the side, and as you know, the neck roll stops your neck from lifting up too far to hurt yourself. And he broke his collarbone, which has nothing to do with the neck roll, but it's just really weird that he's been in the league for 2 years, and his two biggest injuries are like around his neck, and he wears a neck roll. I'm just saying.
It doesn't make
neck
any
roll
sense.
Science.
Yeah.
The neck roll science is a little kind of wishy-washy here. You know what I mean? James Conner, who I swear to God lives on the injury list, and it fucking sucks because the guy is really good, and you want him to win, especially considering, according to some people, James Conner should not be alive. So 4 years ago, beat cancer, has an ankle injury that kept him out of the entire game on Monday Night Football versus the Denver Broncos, right?
No, New York Giants. And
the New York Giants.
Yeah.
They relied on Benny Snell from Kentucky.
Yep.
Just not basketball, like Kentucky football. I know.
Apparently, the Steelers are telling ESPN that he avoided a high ankle sprain. So, not the same injury as Michael Thomas, but same part of the foot leg area. Unfortunate to see. However, we don't I don't cheer any injury. Don't wish it upon anybody. But when you're going into Monday Night Football and your opponent is projected to beat you by 20 points, and then James Conner comes out and gets 2.7 because he got hurt. It's very unfortunate, but I got the win in my main fantasy league because he decided, or didn't decide, but because the Pittsburgh Steelers held him out for the entire second half. The guy I was playing couldn't believe it. He was hashtag salty, shall we say, that James Conner hurt his ankle. Hopefully he's all right. Hopefully he's back next week. But man, when Snell came in there, he looked like he belonged.
Yeah, Benny Snell got a chance to play a little bit last year as well. If you guys remember, he was in that big rotation of guys. They were trying to figure out who was going to take James Conner's spot at the end of the season. And Benny had if you remember, the spinner for his mouthpiece, like a spinning rim on his mouthpiece.
Yep.
Nobody remembers that. All right, cool.
I remember it. I remember it.
It was lit. And a lot of people were hating. I didn't know Benny Snell was from Houston, but apparently he is. Anyway, moving on. James Conner, we talked about him already. Last one on the list, Philip Lindsay. He at Turf Toe, and Melvin Gordon the second or the third, I think it's the third, took over, and that may also be a rep watch this upcoming week because, I mean, they didn't bring Melvin Gordon in to sit on the bench and let Philip Lindsay do his thing. You know what I mean? So. He had a couple of good runs, but the turf toe definitely got to him, and he's also coming off an ACL injury from 2 years ago now.
Yeah.
So the injury that's not a great way to start the season. I hope he's gonna feel better soon. Philip Lindsay is like the ultimate story to root for. Dude is from the area, played high school ball there, played college ball in the state, and his dad was like a legend. At his high school, he broke all of his dad's high school records on his way to playing college football, and then got drafted by the hometown team. So that's pretty wild. Moving on to, we can just look at the scores here, and then we finish up with 10 things you didn't need to know or you didn't want to know. So
when
10
when
things you didn't
when
want to know
when
about week
Ashton
one.
titled this segment, I was like, he hadn't put any of the things in yet. I was like, all right, I'm really looking forward to this because I want to know what I don't want to know.
Yeah, I know these are all like really weird stats that came out of week one that are kind of whack and kind of stupid. If you want to flex on somebody, if you ever want to impress a girl, just read off one of these things on this list because that's
Yep.
exactly what it's for. That's what's going to happen. You're going to impress a girl by reading off these football stats. Anyway, moving on, Martin. We talk about it from top to bottom on week one, man. First game of the season. Texans versus Chiefs, 34 versus 20. 34-20. Chiefs win handily. It was never even close. And everybody wants Bill O'Brien fired still.
Yeah. Uh, do we? Depending on how long you want to go for today's show, I could go. All I'll say is the Texans showed me absolutely nothing to change my mind that they're going 4-12 this year. I'm sorry, but it is what it is. They did not. There was no fight. There was no play calls to get them back into the game. There was no. There was just no. For me, there was no hope. I didn't see any hope, and it sucks for Deshaun Watson. I mean, good for him for signing the fucking mega deal that he did because this year, personally, I think is going to be a struggle.
They're playing the Ravens this upcoming week, and what I'm going to be very interested in is the 17 wide receivers who are on the roster being able to get open against three really good corners,
Yep.
like Marlon Humphrey, Jimmy Smith, and of course, I almost forgot. Marcus Peters plays for the Ravens,
Yeah.
which you know,
Oh,
you know,
what is it? To the riches, go to spoiled, or whatever that fucking saying is. Like
winners keep winning, winners stay
yeah,
winning,
dude.
bro.
Like,
It's
god damn it, man. The fucking
anyway, it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun, guys. It's gonna be fun. I'm interested to see how this all shakes out. But yeah, also fuck the Chiefs fans.
oh yeah, that was fucking
I
ridiculous.
forgot to,
I
you know
thought
what it's about.
I was gonna
Booing
save that one
unity.
for
That's what we're doing in the
yeah.
year 2020. Who had that one on their bingo card? Booing unity. All right, moving on. Jets versus Bills. Also, fuck Jake Fromm. Forgot Jake Fromm plays for the Bills until I was doing some research on the Bills. Fuck him. So if you don't know why, look up what he wrote when the Black Lives Matter movement popped off about George Floyd, about how he wished that really rich people could buy silencers, which you can only assume would imply that Jake Fromm wants to go out into the street and shoot protesters.
Yep, it's an awkward one.
I wonder if a certain person who works for a certain network wants him to be president as well. 27-17, once again, you talk about no hope. Martin, we got it bad as Texans fans, I'll say that much.
True.
Ain't nowhere near as bad as what the Jets got. So
That was one thing. Like it sucked to see because like the Texans are historically bad in prime time, but one of the good things about them playing on Thursday is you got to see the rest of the league and some of the teams that it's like, all right, so maybe they won't have the first. Oh wait, they don't have any draft picks until the third round this year, so it doesn't matter about the Texans draft picks. But the first overall pick as of right now, I mean, the Jets. What's weird is they already have Sam Darnold, so if they're tanking for Trevor, are they just gonna are they gonna do what the Cardinals did with Josh Rosen?
oh no, they're just gonna let Sam do what he's gonna do.
Okay,
Just gonna let it ride, baby.
but
It's
yeah,
all good.
there is a couple of
Um,
teams that like at least looked worse than the Texans. If there's a bright spot for us Houston
Oh, there's a
fans,
lot of teams that look way worse than the Texans because
well, I wouldn't
I
say a
guarantee you,
lot.
Martin. I'm gonna tell you this right now. There's a couple of teams out here that if they played the reigning Super Bowl champions on the first game of the season, they don't sniff anywhere near 20 points.
All right, I'll give
I
you that
tell
one.
you,
I'll give you that one.
I'm just saying. Uh,
I'll give you that. That
so
is
one of
true.
those teams being the Jets, and I would dare say the other team being the Bills. I don't think the Bills could score 20 points against the Chiefs. That's just me. Maybe we'll find out later in the season. But yeah, the Bills just literally ran over the Jets.
Yep.
Josh Allen had his best passing game ever and also led his team in rushing. So, usually when one guy just wrecks your entire life, you probably lost that game. Packers versus the Vikings. I don't know how the Vikings scored 34 points. It's a goddamn miracle.
Very carefully they scored.
Very carefully, very meticulously scared. Yeah, so the Green Bay Packers, like we mentioned before, Aaron Rodgers had like the highest rating of any quarterback for week 1 by PFF. He had like a 95 or something like that, which is insane.
Yeah.
Um, and the Vikings are still the Vikings, super loaded on offense and pretty stacked on defense. Which, by the way, starting to question how stacked you are when you give up 43 points in the opening week of the season. But super stacked on defense with some good pass rushing, which will go a long way, especially considering you basically gutted your entire secondary.
Yeah.
Which is unlike Mike Zimmer. But yeah, they got week 2. They got something to look forward to. 34 points is something to be proud of. Like, that's the NFL. And then knowing that Dalvin Cook is still 100% healthy, you should thank your lucky stars every day that you can say that in the NFL.
Yep.
The Eagles took on the Washington Football Club, or as I say, the Washington Football Club suckered the Eagles into thinking they were good. That's elite level. The Washington Football Club tricked the Eagles into thinking they were good. They let them get ahead, and then they kicked the shit out of them. I gotta respect that move. Anyway, shout out to Ron Rivera, Riverboat Ron out here coaching, getting 2 dubs, staying alive today because he is fighting cancer. And then on top of that, turning the entire city of Philadelphia against Carson Wentz. Wow. That's something.
It only took one game for where what is it? Where I saw somebody put in like did Jalen? Someone was like, "Are they even warming up Jalen Hurts on the sideline, or is this just a Wentz or bust week for the Eagles?" And also,
I'll say Wentz or bust, and they combined together had under 70 yards rushing. So
yeah,
like, you know what I mean? Like, that's my thing. Like,
but yeah, Ron Rivera, what he went through at halftime is probably if you guys tune in on Thursday to our normal, or not our normal, but our extended edition of the Broke Boy podcast. Probably my leader for best of the best that I've seen so far, but we still got 2 days to get through. I just don't know how. I don't know what happened. Like, it's crazy how something like what happened at halftime with him getting the IV can spur a team on the field. Like, it's crazy where some players get their momentum and their drive from. And just shout out to Ron Rivera for even going through what he's going through right now. And I mean,
also, side note, the Eagles scored 0 points in the second half.
Yeah.
So
well, here's another theme. Me and my friends texting and something completely opposite happening. So it's 17-0 or whatever. It's like I had texted or messaged a friend in our league, and I said, "Hey Kevin, I think Carson Wentz might be the early favorite for the MVP." He went from after that message went 0 for 6 and 2 interceptions.
Yikes.
It was so like, oh my god, like.
By the way, the offense for Washington was garbage.
Yeah.
17-31 from Dwayne Haskins. He had 1 touchdown. He had 178 yards passing. By the way, happy birthday to Terry McLaurin. Today's his birthday.
Nice.
Also, Steven Sims Jr., our guy, 5 yards, 3 catches, 50 yards.
Yeah, not too bad.
Yeah, that's pretty good, especially starting off like, this is his first time as like the bona fide number 2 for the team. So that's pretty dope. The Browns played the Ravens, and then the Ravens, we're not going to talk about
it. Yeah, we get this past 38-6.
38-6, the Ravens beat the Browns. You saw what happened.
Yeah,
you knew what was going to happen.
Yep.
It was my one upset pick in the entire week in terms of the pick 'em. I should not have tried to reach. I dislocated my shoulders on that reach.
I'm glad Ashton brought up the pick 'em because as I posted on my Instagram,
oh god,
your boy is in
one good week.
Your boy, one good week, please. Your boy is gonna be at first place from now until the end of the season. Pick 'em is where, dude. I own pick. Like, I'm not the best at picking against the spread, but if you're telling me straight up, dude, I'm gonna get it right probably 70-80% of the time. So good luck.
It took 86% to be. Last year we had an NFL Pick'em league, and it took 86% to win first place.
Okay.
That guy is currently in third right now. He was pretty good last year. I had 74%. So, some other people joined, which is pretty dope. Tons of fun, all the good jazz like that, just straight up picking winners. And I post them on Twitter at FB_playbook. I'm assuming Martin's going to start posting his since he's got the bravado and the confidence right now.
As long as
regardless.
Here's how I go. If I'm doing well, it's getting posted. If I don't do well, we're going to forget it ever happened.
Don't ask me about shit.
We're on to Cincinnati, literally, as they are one of the next teams on the list, Ashton. They went up against the Chargers. Joe Burrow a decent, not a stat stuffer for the Heisman winner and number one overall pick, but a decent decent
Martin,
start.
you call this a good loss, right?
There's no good losses.
It's a bad win for the Chargers and a
Yes.
good loss
Yes.
for the Bengals.
If you're
The
yeah.
Bungles.
Yeah, if you're looking for takeaways as a team with a rookie quarterback, looked sort of rebuilding, even though they've got AJ Green and Joe Mixon still in the mix, but it looked promising. They didn't look bad, or they didn't look as bad as they have in the past couple of years. Because the Bengals have been one of those teams at the bottom. I mean, they went to the playoffs a couple of years, but then kind of fizzled out, and they looked all right. And the Chargers, a lot of people were talking the Chargers up this season or in the preseason. Ashton, is if they can get some good quarterback play, they could be a team to watch out. But unfortunately, um, there was already some questions about when Justin Herbert or Bear, however we're going to say his last name,
Air Bear.
Bear. It's when's he going to come
Justin
out?
Herbert from Oregon, guys, by the way.
When is he going to come out? Because Tyrod Taylor just didn't. He looked like there was only one team that wanted him this offseason, and he 16 for 30, 208 yards, no touchdowns throwing. Just not a good day at the office for him. Only 7 yards on 6 carries for Tyrod Taylor. So we'll have to see just how
A lot of
many
people,
games.
a good chunk of people chalking that up to the leadership of the Chargers, not necessarily to Tyrod Taylor. But
Yep.
guess what? When you're the quarterback, you take the heat. That's how it always
Sure.
goes. And also, let's be honest, the public is very accustomed to chastising Tyrod Taylor because even when he was pulling the Bills out of the shitter pretty much every single week
Yeah.
to the point where they were a playoff team, he was still the problem.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Yes.
Remember that one time they sat Tyrod Taylor so they could start Nathan Peterman? Remember that one time where they were like,
Yeah.
Nathan Peterman is a better quarterback than Tyrod Taylor, and then the legend was born. And then Tyrod Taylor had to go save him, and they still made the playoffs that year because of how good he is. But anyway, week one, very bad for Tyrod.
Yeah.
Week two, whole new world, whole
yeah.
new ball game.
It's one week at a time, as JJ Watt likes to say. 1 week at a time. Next on my list I got here, Ashton, is a game that I believe not this one. It was the Packers Vikings was a first time ever for the score, 43-34.
Are you talking about Scoregami?
Yeah, Scoregami. But the Patriots
Which, by
and
the
Dolphins.
way, is the nerdiest of nerd
Oh,
things in
dude,
terms
I
of
love
football.
it.
If you don't know what a Scoregami is, it is literally a Twitter account where they calculate the percentage of a final score being reached in a game, and they also keep track of every final score that's ever been reached. The palindrome of 43-34, which is the final score for Packers versus Vikings, had never been achieved in NFL history. So it was a Scoregami.
Yeah, but the game that I thought I was actually going to say the Scoregami, but it wasn't. The Patriots coming out 21-11 over the Dolphins. You and I last Thursday said we weren't going to really get too much into the Patriots until we saw them on film, and the Dolphins for that matter. Both teams kind of came out, and the defense for the Dolphins looked all right. The offense terrible. What were your takeaways from the Patriots?
I wonder. Okay. So last year, the take that I had about the Patriots that turned out to be true. The second that their defense stopped helping out the offense so much, then we had a bigger problem, right? Defense got 3 interceptions in the first game of the season. 3 interceptions is a seismic shift. It all but cements that the team with that got the 3 interceptions on defense wins the game.
Oh yeah.
Just off the sheer amount of possessions being taken away. And I'm not here to question like Cam Newton or anything. And of course, we have to assume, based off of what we know about Cam Newton, a very talented football player, what we know about Bill Belichick, greatest coach of all time, they're going to get better in some way, shape, or form as the season goes on. And their defense, despite having all the gaps across the board, should get better as well, despite all the players that opted out. They're lucky they started the season versus the Dolphins.
Yeah, it could have been a lot. Like the hype around Cam Newton after that game, and like you and everything, a lot of it came from playing the Dolphins. But I don't know. The defense for the Dolphins, they looked okay. I mean, 3 interceptions from Ryan Fitzpatrick kind of put them in a shitty
By the way,
situation.
man, goddamn, I turned that game on and Ryan Fitzpatrick was running for his life, and I felt bad for my guy Fitz. I mean, if you're first of all, if you hate Fitz, fuck you.
Yeah,
Like
he's a great guy.
yeah, don't diss Fitz. And his mom just died, so don't be a dick.
Yeah.
But yeah, the I turned the play on. It was like the third quarter, and Fitz is like running for his life to get a first down.
Yep.
And they're like, that's the fourth first down for the Dolphins in this game, and I was like, oh my god, it's one of those days. But yeah, he's in a situation like that's not a sit. By the way, if you looked at what happened with Fitz, that's not a situation you put a rookie quarterback into.
Yeah.
Like everybody asking for Tua, you don't like
you wait.
You let Fitz die.
You
let
wait.
Fitz die before you put
Yeah.
Tua in there.
Give Tua as long as he needs to stand and look over and see like, all right, my offensive line isn't the greatest. We've got a couple of more games here from the early slates.
Oh, what? Hold on.
Huh.
Also, fuck Cam Newton for that comment he made about Christian Wilkins.
Oh, I missed it.
Cam Newton, Christian Wilkins, to his credit, tried to snatch Cam Newton's chain. Understandable. I'm pretty sure it was a nice chain. It's Cam Newton. It belongs to Cam Newton. It's probably dope. It also probably is wearing its own suit somehow. Anyway, Cam Newton, he got into got into a fight essentially with Christian Wilkins, and then said, "I had to remember that I was having a conversation with a man who who is known for doing the splits." Christian Wilkins is not known for doing the splits. Look, if you're on Twitch, you can see right now, Martin doesn't even remember the moment that Cam Newton is referencing. When Clemson won the national championship game, Christian Wilkins did a split in front of the
cameras.
In front of the cameras and celebrating in the confetti and stuff. And all the super toxic masculinity dudes were like, "Oh man, that's gay. He doesn't deserve to be a national champion." And it's just like, he's literally an NFL caliber athlete and has elite level flexibility. You're trying. Oh, by the way, he got 2 sacks in that game on Cam Newton. By the way,
right? So, to me personally, a defensive tackle being able to do the splits is impressive. I don't think it takes anything away from his masculinity. He's not up there doing like a go team go type of thing. And even then, even if he was, who fucking cares?
I mean, if he's shitting on you as a defensive lineman,
exactly.
what can you really say? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I get it. His team won. I get it. Cam Newton's team won, and you get to talk as much shit as you want when you win. That's just that's the nature of the game, right? But Christian Wilkins also, they had a thing during training camp where Christian Wilkins was singing songs from Hamilton.
Nice.
Yeah, so there were people who were like, "Oh, that's the same cat that was singing them Broadway songs, huh?" And I was just like, "Oh my god, you guys are 12 years old, bro." Also, Christian Wilkins has 2 undergrad. He graduated from college with a double major.
Double major, yeah.
He has 2 different degrees from Clemson. All the while, basically being a national title contender every single year that he was playing football, and a starter on a defensive line that, if you remember back in the day, was considered to be the greatest defensive line in the history of college football, and he was a starter on that defensive line. So it's just real funny how everybody loves to everybody loves to try and play it. They act like people's sexuality is hide and go seek or some shit like that.
Yeah.
And it's that's got nothing to do with you. Also, your what you perceive to be gay or whatever it is, be soft, is real funny to me, considering you're trying to talk down to an NFL defensive lineman. It's hilarious. Anyway, Cam Newton said that.
Yeah.
Cam Newton said that it's just real difficult to fuck with Cam Newton when he says stuff like that. I support the dude tenfold because so many other people shit on him. It's just real hard to fuck with him when he says stuff like that.
So we've got a couple more games here from the early slate before we get to the Sunday night football and the Monday night football. We've kind of mentioned a couple of them that we can kind of skim over. No real takeaways from a couple, like the Jags Colts game. We already talked about that one. The 2 that I want to get to here that I've kind of got left on my list, Ashton, is the Raiders and Panthers. 34-30, the Raiders win. Probably a lot more points scored in that game than anybody thought would be scored from the Raiders-Panthers.
Just because, by the way, I need to point this out because the box score doesn't show it. The Raiders had a double-digit lead in that game, and they blew it.
Yeah.
Yeah. They were up 14-0, I think it was, or 17-0 or something like that, and they blew the lead.
Yeah, it was interesting. What was it? 3 touchdowns for Josh Jacobs. Christian McCaffrey, I said on the Thursday show that he would not have a great season. He proved me completely wrong, going off 96 yards on 23 carries and 2 touchdowns. I believe he, let me pull up how many receiving yards he had. 3 catches for 38. But Teddy Bridgewater did what Teddy Bridgewater does. Had a couple of runs, completed most of his passes, 22 of 34, 1 touchdown, 270 yards. Derek Carr, a very basic game from both of these teams. Nothing really stands out on paper for me except for 3 touchdowns on the ground for Josh Jacobs.
And the encouraging part of that is Derek Carr throwing to Henry Ruggs for 3 for 55 yards, like we mentioned before. That once again, that trust and how delicate it is, because you just pointed out earlier in the show about how Dak may or may not be questioning CD Lamb's route running choices in terms of like how he's doing it and all that kind of jazz like that. But Henry Ruggs, 3 receptions, 55 yards. That's encouraging for a guy who, if there was like a scale of absolute recklessness and highly conservative, to the right is Nathan Peterman and to the left is Derek Carr, right? Yeah. And everybody else kind of falls in between those two. And Derek Carr is the most conservative of the conservative. So it's just it's good to see him out there slinging it around a little bit, and hopefully he'll throw fewer passes to Josh Jacobs and more to guys who are further down the field.
Yep.
That's the only thing I had to say. By the way, Josh Jacobs, another member of the Alabama running back legacy.
Yep. Just a great running back to have. I can't believe I didn't get him in any of. I can't believe it that I passed up on him. Anyways, the last.
Go ahead.
Last of the early games here. Probably what turned out to be the most exciting of the noon games. When the witching hour started, Ashton, the Lions looked as if though they were coasting to victory over the Chicago Bears. Mitch Trubisky, who for some reason for the first 3 quarters decided that he opted out for the season, and then he came back in the fourth quarter and said, you know what, I'm actually going to play. 21 unanswered points by the Bears, 27-23, but we have to be remiss. The Detroit Lions should have won this game on the last play, one of the last plays of the game. DeAndre Swift dropping a wide open touchdown catch. The Georgia rookie had a start to regret.
You know what? I'm not gonna talk shit about DeAndre Swift, because I feel like the fact that it even came down to a rookie running back catching a touchdown pass with 2 defenders right near him down the left-hand sideline in an NFL game, I feel like, there's a lot of people to blame before we get to that situation, right, Martin? Before we ever get to this situation where we're talking about DeAndre Swift, a rookie running back, dropping a touchdown catch when they're like 20 yards away from the end zone, by the way, not like a swing route or anything like that, like an actual wide receiver route that he had to run through zone coverage to be able to get open. But, hey, what do I know? 27-23 in this one, like you mentioned.
the big elephant in the room is the Detroit Lions defense. You have a 23-6 lead going into the fourth quarter, and you give up.
And you let 3 touchdowns get scored.
It just doesn't. I mean, and then are we gonna say it now, or do you want to save it for the 10 things you don't want to know?
We'll save it.
We'll save. All right. Just a heads up, guys. The Lions head coach is really full of himself.
Another point in the douchebag column from Matt Patricia coming up, guys. So just be ready for that. Which, by the way, some would argue is a sign that Matt Patricia is actually a good coach. Also, like to point out that Jim Caldwell, in his 1 year of coaching the Lions, has as many wins as Matt Patricia in his 3 years of coaching the Lions.
Interesting.
Just putting it out there.
So we've got to. Yeah, it doesn't make any sense how he still has his job. He hasn't done.
Martin, it makes plenty of sense. You know what I mean?
So. Yeah. It's not a good start to the season when you're on the hot seat, or if he is on the hot seat, blowing a lead like that. But that's the early games. Now we move on to the afternoon games. We actually covered one. I thought the Chargers Bengals was a noon kickoff. I was wrong. That was actually one of the afternoon kickoffs. The other afternoon kickoff was the Saints and Buccaneers. Drew Brees versus Tom Brady. We've already talked about it a bunch in this game.
Drew Brees and Tom Brady versus time.
Yeah, it seems like it may have caught up on both of them. Neither of them were really that impressive quarterback-wise. Drew Brees gets the win. Alvin Kamara, did he have 2 touchdowns on the end of the day?
And was not getting like a ton of carries at the beginning of that game. Latavius Murray got like a few more than I thought he would, suspiciously enough.
Yeah, Saints win
Anyway,
34-23. I think this was just it just comes down to new team. This is the first Tom Brady and the company. They'll go back, look at the film, and yeah, the Bruce Arians actually kind of threw him under the bus on the interception return
Martin,
for a touchdown.
Martin, all I'm saying is Jameis would have made this game way more exciting. He would have won and lost that game 4 times before halftime.
Oh yeah.
And he would have won and lost that game 4 times before halftime and found a way to somehow score on himself. Jameis would have invented a type of interception we had never seen before and then followed it up by throwing a touchdown pass to himself 50 yards down the field. That's the kind of greatness. That is, I mean, I've said it before. Jameis Winston is Seth. If you know who Seth is the Egyptian god of chaos. That is exactly who Jameis Winston is. He is the reincarnation of that god. And I'm just saying, when he loses and when Jameis loses, it is something to behold. He goes down in flames.
Yeah.
And Tom Brady went down in a whimper. It's all good, man. A lot of people really questioning Rob Gronkowski after week 1 as well, saying that, it's amazing how many people are just blocking experts
Yeah.
when week 1 of the season rolls around. But, yeah, talking about how his blocking wasn't all that good, how he didn't have a lot of pop and everything like that, which I was like, understandable. What is it, Mike Evans?
1 catch for 2 yards on 4 targets. He came into the game
And
doubtful.
could also be blamed for an interception at one point because of a poor sight read on what turned out to be double coverage.
Yep.
And then a pick 6 from one Tom Brady as he tried to throw an out route and it floated just a little bit too much.
It was floated. It was late. Bruce Arians
all
came
the things that Tom Brady doesn't do.
Yeah. But here's the thing. You get rid of Jameis Winston. You bring in what many people think is the GOAT. And this is his stat line. 2 interceptions, 3 sacks, and a fumble. I mean, like you said, Jameis Winston could have done that. So what really has changed in Tampa Bay?
I'm just saying, Jameis Winston could have done that, and it would have looked cool.
It would have looked better.
It would have been exciting.
But Jameis Winston on the other side of the ball, backing up Tom, he got the W. So it's interesting how the world works. I've saved possibly the best for last here, Ashton, because if anybody listened to the Thursday show, and here's the thing. I can't say enough about how all in I am on the Arizona Cardinals. I understand there's other talking heads. There's other people saying the Cardinals are the dark horse. I was on that bandwagon the moment DeAndre Hopkins got traded to the Arizona Cardinals because he fits in perfectly for what the Cardinals try to do on offense. It takes a lot of weight off of the shoulders of Larry Fitzgerald and Christian Kirk. Christian Kirk can now be his little specialty speedster. Larry Fitzgerald is your possession guy. DeAndre Hopkins is the best wide receiver in the NFL, and it's not even fucking close. That man deserves every penny he gets for the rest of his career. And the Cardinals come out and beat the team that was in the Super Bowl last year, had a chance to beat the Chiefs until late in the fourth quarter, 24-20. The Cardinals are here. They mean business, Ashton. I am ready for a Cardinals-Steelers Super Bowl. Give it to me. I'm all in for it. I might just have to buy a Kyler Murray and a DeAndre Hopkins jersey.
Yeah, man, y'all can fall for that high ball you want, dog.
Oh, no. Don't tell me. Oh.
I'm just saying, man, oh, man. How do I explain this to you guys? One really good way to win games is to be able to stop the other team. One really good way to lose a lot of games is not be able to stop the other team. Nothing in that game except the fact that, it raised far more questions than it did and answered about Jimmy Garoppolo's skill level as a quarterback for the San Francisco 49ers. And that, I feel like, is going to be a resounding theme of the NFC West the entire season. So, and by the way, what you're implying is it's going to come down to the Rams, the Seahawks, and the Arizona Cardinals for a division championship. I will put my money on Mr. Unlimited.
Okay.
10,000%. So that's all I'm saying, man. And if it comes down to who ends up in a wild card spot, I would dare say the Rams over the Cardinals. But then again, it's week 1. What do I know? I don't really know all that much. I don't know anything about football. Other things to point out. God damn, the Tennessee Titans look bad.
Yeah, it did.
Defense looked pretty good. Harold Landry, by the way, one of the most underrated pass rushers in the game. If you are in an IDP league, I would suggest picking him up. He is basically the only good pass rusher that the Tennessee Titans have had for 2 years, and he's pretty good. He got to Drew Lock last night. I was pretty impressed with Drew Lock overall because, like I said before, I expected like nothing from that dude because I saw him play in the Texas Bowl here in Houston a couple years ago when he was playing for Missouri back in the day.
Oh, is that when
And
he did the celebration or whatever? Or was
I
that
don't
was that
think
Tom
so.
Herman? I think Tom
I think
Herman
it was
made fun
Tom
of Drew.
Herman.
I think Herman made fun of Drew Lock. Sorry.
What? Tom Herman's a douchebag? I didn't
Oh,
hear that.
100%.
So yeah, I'm pretty impressed with what Drew Lock's been able to do, man. I didn't expect that out of him, and last night was pretty impressive as well. Because when the chips were against them, man, they went out there and they got like literally what we thought was a game-winning drive.
Yeah.
So that was pretty impressive. Also, like Vic Fangio, probably gonna need a new job after this year.
What was that
So
time management? What like one
honestly,
his
man, you know what it was, right, Martin? He thought that Mike Vrabel was gonna call the timeout sooner because he thought Mike Vrabel was in a time crunch type situation. And I was like, oh no, Mike Vrabel's not the one that needs the ball after whatever happens
exactly.
here, right? Like Mike Vrabel's not the one that needs the ball immediately afterwards. You do.
Yeah.
Because you're in a situation where the Titans, although what's been happening with Gostowski, which was a fluke, right?
It was him coming off of an injury. As a kicker, I mean, I didn't kick for that long, but you had was it hip surgery, and he hasn't really kicked the ball. He got signed 2 days or something before the game anyways, and you're coming in there, you're off of surgery, and you're kicking in Mile High, which is 5,000 feet above, like those are not normal things to go into. So, and one of his kicks was blocked, which is on the blockers and not the kicker. The other one, he fucking shanked, of course. The third one, I think the third one hit the upright. So, I mean, if it hits the upright, it hits the upright. But the fact that Vic Fangio thought that he could just let the Titans kick it and he would go 0 for 4 on the night.
To his credit, all the information showed that Gostowski was going to miss that kick.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, the problem, like ESPN showed it, the probability that he was going to miss 3 field goals and an extra point was like 1 in 1,308, like a 0.09% chance. I think that's what the stat was. So like you're betting on a 0.0 to get worse is just it's bad coaching. You had a minute 50. He could have at a minute 50 he could have called his first timeout. A minute 39 he could have called his second timeout. And then they let it go all the way down and then it's just what are you doing, man? Like I don't know. It just doesn't make any sense.
Celtics Heat is in overtime.
Oh, it did go to overtime?
Yeah.
Okay. We'll be talking about that on Thursday's show.
It's pretty stupid. Like you said, Martin, like top to bottom, the level of stupidity that operates off of just being like, well, he needs the timeout more than I do.
Yeah.
Even though I'm the one that's about to be down by 1 point or by 2 points if he scores. But hey,
it just didn't
we live and we learn. Vic Fangio, that's Vic Fangio's first time ever being in that situation ever in his like 70 years of coaching football. Whatever.
We got a couple people joining the chat real quick. One person says you look like EDP. I don't know who's EDP. I have someone Silver. You're gonna have to explain that one, and then Takado. Yeah, we talked about the Odell thing. No, I think these are just people coming into the chat. Thank you. Welcome to the Broke Boy Sports Podcast. If you like what you've heard so far, why don't you give us a little follow? We're on the road to getting 50 followers. But yeah, we heard about the Odell thing.
Okay, so these people are not people that Martin knows, which is.
Oh, he's talking about a streamer. But anyways, we've saved Ashton and I. Ashton, I don't know if you've got a drink or if you just want to have a good belly laugh, but the last game that we have to cover here is the game that opened up the new SoFi Stadium in Los Angeles. The Rams and the Cowboys, man, they did what the Cowboys do every fucking year, which is choke and choke and choke some more. Fuck Dallas, hashtag fuck Dallas, except, and I saw this on Ashton's Instagram feed, and I'm not going to let the slander slide. We are Dallas Stars fans on this podcast.
We are not.
We're
We are
going to the
not.
Stanley Cup, baby. 8 come from behind
Now it's we.
victories.
Now it's we.
No,
Okay, now it's
we.
a we. We're going. No, no. What I meant, I said first of all, don't misquote me. I said fuck Dallas, respectively, respectfully in the quotation. So don't misquote me. I would really want that on the t-shirt, like hashtag fuck Dallas, respectfully. Uh, anyway, Dallas Stars. Shout out to them for making it to the Stanley Cup. They have been. Ooh, you want to talk about being a Stars fan? It's been an emotional roller coaster that I don't even know how those dudes are still alive. They were down by like 3 goals going into a third period, and then they scored 7 goals at one point.
Yeah,
So
it was a crazy game. I caught the highlights because I was watching the football games, but they went down 2-0 and then or no, they either went down 2-0 and then came back 2 goals and then scored in overtime, or it was 1-1. Vegas scored and then Dallas scored and then in overtime Dallas scored. But whatever, the Dallas Stars, the
and
only hockey
that's
team in Texas.
talking hockey.
I was gonna save it for Thursday, but I couldn't after seeing what Ashton put on Instagram. I'm still talking about it on Thursday. It might be my what's poppin'. It is. We're talking hockey on the next episode of the Broke Boys podcast. But Ashton, the Cowboys, we've got a good stat and 10 things you didn't want to know. We're gonna save it for then. But the Cowboys lose by 3. The pass interference, by the rule of the law, he extended his hand and pushed the other player. However, it didn't look like pass interference to me. I think they got robbed. Normally the referees,
but we know that. We don't need. We
nor,
know that.
normally the referees are at least I think are biased towards the Cowboys. This one, it seemed like the NFL said the Rams better get a win for the first game inside SoFi Stadium. You have any big takeaways from that game that we haven't already talked about?
Man, both of those teams look pretty good. I know a lot of people at PFF. I listened to their podcast, and they were like, "Jared Goff looks exactly the same." And I was like, "I don't know about that, man. Maybe they look good because their running game was working for them. Malcolm Brown looked pretty effective, man, and I wouldn't bank on that too much. He had a couple of spurts last season where he had like 3 games where he looked good, and then he kind of just fell off, which probably is due to injury because when they realize they have a good running back, they're going to run him into the ground. This is how it is. Yeah. That's how every NFL team is. But for the most part, in terms of what the Cowboys did, the Cowboys played a more sustainable game. Like the way that they played, you can count on that being something they're capable of doing like every game this year. Ezekiel Elliott had probably the juke of the century where he crossed up 4 Rams players, and everybody took it and they're like, "Oh man, looks like Ezekiel Elliott's got them running half gassers because they all look like they were bending down to touch the line." Yep. Yeah. And I was glad people saw that. Also, worst tattoo ever.
What is that? Feet like I understand you're the Zeke feed Zeke whatever, but
hopefully it was temporary because that didn't look like it was really well done at all.
On the other side of the ball, one of my friends had a bit of a hot take that I really disagreed with.
Oh, by the way, shout out to Aldon Smith, bro.
Oh, yeah.
5 years out of the league and got a sack. I don't know how you don't break down and cry because there has to be so many times where you question, like, if you were ever even close to good enough, like, doing it again, right? Like, You have to feel like, yo, I still, like, feel like me, but that doesn't mean I'm good enough to be able to get out there, and he did it. Like, first game, and once again, Jared Goff, not the wiliest of quarterbacks, but he still wrangled them down, and you got to take credit. You got to give credit where credit is due. And if there's one position that the Cowboys have emphasized the past couple of years, you got to give them credit that they are all about getting those cheap pass rushers, man. Getting Aldon Smith, Gerald McCoy going out there, getting Tank Lawrence. Of course, they helped out a ton as well. And then, Akeem Hicks, right? No, Robert Quinn.
Robert Quinn, yeah.
Robert Quinn, they've been investing in pass rushing, knowing that they're secondary. They're working on that, right? And that's good. That's good personnel decisions. That's something to look forward to, despite what other people have to say.
Yeah, Aldon Smith obviously has the rap sheet to be a Cowboys player. Actually, one of the best rap sheets. To the joke that the Cowboys
most of his stuff is self-harm though, right? And
there's there's a DUI, there's weed, but then there's also like
and there's like a domestic violence one.
I don't know if it's domestic violence. I think it was like possession of a illegal firearm
Oh
or
yeah, it
something
was
like
the
that.
firearm thing. It was the gun, right? Like he had like
Yeah,
a
he
gun
broke
in the
like
trunk of
got
his car or some shit.
yeah, broke up a fight and then got found with guns on or something like I don't know. It is what it is. He, like you said, 5 years out of the league. He did his time. He's back. Um, but man, it for the Cowboys fan, I'd rather the Texans lose how they did than the Cowboys how they did because that was just it was comical at some points. I mean, you hate to see CeeDee Lamb get trashed a little bit, but that fourth down play where he didn't run it past the line of scrimmage, that was just that was unfortunate to say the least. Um, it, it'll be interesting to see. One thing I wanted to bring up, and I might want to talk about it more on Thursday, and it was coming from Chris Collinsworth. It seems like Mike McCarthy still wishes he was in Green Bay. From what Collinsworth was saying about he can't watch the Packers, he can't do this, he can't do that. It's like, bro, you sound like you are still hung up on your ex. And it was it was also interesting to see they kept showing shots of him on the sideline and not once did he clap. Because if everybody knows, Cowboys fans hated how much Jason Garrett clapped, and now now they got a coach on the sideline who was didn't look like he wanted to be there.
I think it's literally because Mike McCarthy's actually doing coach things. Like he's got things that he's actually making like decisions play wise. He's like thinking about something. So why would he clap? He's like, man, we got it. He's like, offensive play trend here, all that kind of stuff like that. Listening to the defensive conversation. That's probably why he wasn't clapping. Because he was actually doing something, not like a placeholder for doing something like clapping. Anyway,
Yeah. But what I wanted to bring up a minute ago, when I was having a conversation with my friend, he had a hot take that he said Robert Woods is going to be a top 10 wide receiver this year. And this was before the game. And I told him, you're crazy. Robert Woods isn't going to be a top 10 wide receiver. And he came out and he fucking balled. I don't think he scored a touchdown, but it seemed like every time the Rams were on offense, Robert Woods was involved somehow.
Yeah, man. When he's healthy, he's the top vertical threat. And if there's anything that Jared Goff has, is the ability to put that ball down the field. Not necessarily all the time, but he'll put it out there, let it fly. But that is all we got on that one, man.
Yep.
I would say you take a lot from the Cowboys on that one. I know everybody's gonna be dissing the Rams, but the Rams are more than likely gonna make the playoffs this year because of the expansion of the playoffs. So you can get mad about that when that happens. Anyway, 10 things you didn't want to know. These are 10 things that I scrounged up over the internet that were topics. Not even topics. They're things that happened during week 1 of the NFL season that you probably don't give a shit about unless you're like some real football nerd. And I just thought it was really funny to point it out. Number 1, Carson Wentz was sacked 8 times. That shit is a lot. That's a lot. A lot. Number 2 on here, Josh Allen had his first 300-yard passing game, and it's the first time the Bills have had a 300-yard passer in 4 years. Also, remember, fuck Jake Fromm.
4 years?
Yeah, 2016. I think it was Tyrod Taylor, the last person to do it.
Wow.
Cam Newton had the most rush attempts by a Patriots quarterback ever. Also, most rushing yards by a Patriots quarterback since 1977.
Tom who?
Which I'm assuming is they were running the wishbone back then. That's the only way that could have happened. But they were doing that. The Cowboys are 1-7 in one score games since 2019. So not clutch is the terminology that goes with it.
That one is just they put it up during the game, like in mid fourth quarter, and as soon as they put it up, you had to stop and think like, all right, yeah, they're losing this one. Like there's such things as commentator curses. That was a commentator curse. That 100%. They knew what they were doing when they put that one on the screen.
The Cardinals' first season opener victory since 2015 was when after this week where they beat the 49ers by 4 points.
Yes, they came out.
Steven Gostowski. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was going to say they came out and did that thing. DeAndre Hopkins, we're going to get to him in a second, but Kyler Murray, can we talk about him? Like we've been talking about dual and single threat quarterbacks. I mean, that little touchdown run he had where he faked the guy left and just somehow it magically went to his right was just woo.
So yeah, there's that going on. People losing their shit over Kyler Murray. Every person who, by the way, is no longer a dark horse pick because everybody thinks the Cardinals are going to be good. Steven Gostowski, who was the kicker for the Tennessee Titans last night, in case you didn't know, He dropped from 5th all time to 9th all time in kicking after he went 2 for 6 on Monday Night Football last night.
Yikes.
Yeah, so he was pretty good, and he's still pretty good. He's just not as good as he was before. The Giants' 19-play drive that happened on Monday Night Football was the longest they've had in 6 years by number of plays. So, of course, naturally, it ended with them throwing an interception to a defensive lineman. I just wanted to point that out there. Daniel Jones floated what could have been a touchdown to Cam Hayward, I believe.
Yeah, it was Cam Hayward made a night like what's a defensive tackle doing all the way out on the edge to get that interception anyways? But
that's called zone blitzing, baby. You got to know your principles.
Yeah.
That's zone blitzing. That's when you drop D lineman into the flats and he just tracked the ball in because, they talk all that shit about defensive backs, but the big dogs, man, the big dudes, they know how to get that ball, man. They know how to catch that thing. So I'm sorry, said that already about the Giants. The Patriots won and Tom Brady lost for the first time since 1999. So that was pretty stupid.
One of those random stats that, like, every channel that has a Tampa Bay game this year is going to try and outstat each other on some obscure Patriots Tom Brady stat.
Right,
like, it's going to be like next week when the Patriots go 2-0, and if Tampa Bay loses, it'll be like the first time the Patriots are 2-0 without Tom Brady, and the first time Tom Brady's 0-2 for the first time since whatever. Like, it's going to be just be ready for these stats to pop up every single week.
Yeah. So DeAndre Hopkins had a career high 14 catches.
Pay the man. He deserves every fucking penny. I've said it.
Negotiated his own contract too. That was pretty dope.
He is the best wide receiver in football. Any general manager that thinks that he is not worth paying is an idiot. I'll just leave it at that.
Kirk Cousins had 5 passes in the first half versus the Green Bay Packers. It's a new low in comparison to last year when he threw 7 passes in the first half versus the Falcons.
Yeah, it's like we talked earlier. The coaches don't trust him. They gave him a lot of money and then found out that he's actually not as good as they thought he was.
I mean, they didn't find out. They knew.
He is the definition, or really quick, he's the definition of a single threat quarterback.
Single threat.
I was going to bring this up with Jimmy Garoppolo as well. The Niners.
Jimmy Garoppolo, single threat quarterback.
Exactly. The Niners have a single threat, and the Cardinals have a dual threat. I'm just saying.
Single threat. Matt Patricia.
Quote of the week.
I just wanted to quote of the week. And like I said before, another point for Matt Patricia for douchebag in the douchebag category. In relation to what happened at the end of the fourth quarter about
the 21 points.
He was asked, does he think the fourth quarter collapses? Because there have been many, especially under his tenure. Does he think that there's like something wrong there that he needs to address? And he said, I don't think so, Mike. I think I've got one of the biggest plays in the fourth quarter in the history of the NFL where I think I did a pretty good job. That is, of course, in reference to Malcolm Butler's Super Bowl interception that somehow Matt Patricia is taking credit for.
Hey, he was the coach, Ashton. He was on the field. He was on the headset. So of course he was the one that told Malcolm Butler to jump the in route. Like, it is, it's just a stupid quote. I mean, it just shows where his head is at. He thinks he is hot shit because a couple of years ago a player made one of the best plays in the history of the game. But I mean, honestly, how much? Unless we get a documentary where it's on camera with Matt Patricia telling Malcolm Butler where to be and when.
So the documentary actually shows Bill Belichick getting mad at Malcolm Butler for not jumping the route beforehand. Like, for real. Like, It's like footage of them in practice. And they had the Seahawks play mapped out perfectly. And Malcolm Butler did not jump the route. And they, like, told him, they sent him to, like, run or something like that. Or they kicked him off the field for the next, like, to let somebody else rotate in. And in the Super Bowl, he jumped it perfectly.
Yep.
So that's how that goes.
Yeah.
Matt Patricia, man, I don't know what. I think my all-time one is him telling a reporter to sit up straight. Another grown-ass man to sit up straight.
That's an interesting one.
That's if you remember, after his team got their asses kicked He was in a press conference during like a midweek practice, and he like lost his shit because some dude was quote unquote slouched over when he was asking him a question, and he said something about like respect him, and I was like, oh yeah, no,
Bro,
never again, like never again.
Matt Patricia and I would have problems because your boy slouches like there's no fucking tomorrow. Ashton, that is
Because he trying to tell me what to do. Like that's not cool at
no,
all.
yeah,
Martin, we do have some other things we got to get to real quick on this
yeah.
one, and we got questions that people sent in on my Instagram, and there's some quick ones here. One of these is from Cam Brock. He's cool. Cam D Brock. Follow him on Instagram. He's a aspiring sportscaster as well. He worked for iHeartRadio, I still think. He's the one who said, "Are you excited about a Texas team playing in the Stanley Cup?" And I asked for football
Yes.
questions only. So naturally, I responded with "Fuck Dallas."
Yes, we are excited.
My dude,
The reason
Fernando.
I'm wearing this green color specifically to represent the Dallas Stars. That is the
Wow,
only
what a
reason I
traitor.
chose this shirt, Ashton. I looked in the closet and I was like, how can I represent the Stars? We won't say where they're from for now, but we're all on board. We're here.
Yeah, you're on your own with that one. So we move on to my other question. This one was asked by my dude Fernando. Shout out to him. His Twitter handle is FLunaWorks. So FLuna WORKS. He asked D Hop, DeAndre Hopkins, is he ring bound this year with the Cardinals? Too early to tell. It's not too early to tell. He's not.
Oh, come on,
The
Ashton.
Cardinals are not winning the Super Bowl this year,
Oh
guys.
my
Not
God.
even close.
Steelers, Cardinals in the Super Bowl. Book it right now. I'm gonna make sure that we have a clip of this so I can play it back for Ashton.
Somebody clip that right now. And so anytime you ever apply for a job, like as a sportscaster, I'll be like, oh no. Like they called me for a reference, and I'm just like, there's actually a clip of him predicting the Cardinals playing the Steelers in the Super Bowl. The Cardinals team that was in the top 10 of the draft picks in the NFL draft the year before. Yep. Highly unlikely. Also, once again, guys, offense is great. Defense is also important as well. And guess what the Cardinals don't have?
They stepped up. They fucking held the 49ers to 20 points. Are you kidding me? What did Jimmy Garoppolo...
Since I knew that the 49ers were not good on offense.
What did Tevin Coleman, Raheem Mostert, the other running back... I mean, where are all these guys? They're in the loss column.
Okay, moving on. My dude, Andrew, asked this one. He's a Bengals fan, by the way, so he hates Bengals slander in all shapes and forms. He's also rooting for the Stars to win.
Yes.
So he asked Najee Hines, finished his PPR, top 20 running back. Baker Mayfield will get benched mid-season, and Seattle best NFC team. That's his hot takes.
So
I agree with the last one. And get benched.
What was the first one?
Anybody?
Hold on, what was the first one?
Najee Hines, who dominated for the Colts this past weekend. I think he scored like 20 points in most people's leagues.
Finishes.
He's saying in PPR he'll finish as like a top 20 running back.
He could be a little Austin Eckler for Phillip Rivers.
Don't worry, guys. The tool man's on the way. Jonathan Taylor.
Yes.
Coming to save the.
It's unfortunate. It's unfortunate that Matt got hurt, but Jonathan Taylor, I think, is the real deal. He's behind one of the best I can't say enough how good the Colts offensive line is. But I can see Hines finishing top 20 in a PPR league for sure. But
yeah, Najee Hines has been on that team for a long time. It is not for nothing.
Exactly.
It's literally because every time Marlon Mack or like any other starting back goes down, he's been there to step it up. I've actually won a fantasy championship because of him.
Yeah.
Like straight up. So Najee Hines is finally getting to shine, and hopefully Phillip Rivers will look at him more than he looks downfield.
Just as long as he throws it to T.Y. Hilton a little bit more than he did week one. But what was the middle part of the question? Baker getting benched?
Baker Mayfield gets benched mid-season.
Ashton, I'm going to need you to take that one because I have to look up who the fuck the Browns' backup quarterback is.
So the reason I don't think this will happen is because when it comes to draft picks like Baker Mayfield, you got to let them crash and burn. You got to give them every opportunity to succeed. Oh, by the way, 4th coaching staff in 4 years. The problem's not Baker. The problem's not Baker.
Ashton, we know who the Browns' backup quarterback is.
Is it Brandon Weeden?
No, close. Brandon Weeden's actually isn't Brandon Weeden.
Brian Hoyer?
No, close. Keep going. Oh, old Texas quarterback. Keep going.
Oh, Ryan Mallett.
No, keep going. Keep going.
God. This is so bad.
Case fucking Keenum.
Oh man, we got problems.
No, we got
No, we got problems. Case will turn that situation
exactly
around.
what I'm saying.
Case has been the disrespect on Case Keenum's name is unacceptable. Case Keenum has won games that he should not have won
Get
many times in his
yeah, oh,
season because of
100%.
his abilities and his skill. The disrespect on Case Keenum's name, you better hope Case doesn't get in that game. He's almost as bad as Ryan Fitzpatrick when it comes to being a backup QB. I'm just saying.
The, give get Baker out of there now and get Case Keenum in
Don't
if
do
you
that.
want to win. If you want to
My
win,
thing is, once
go.
again, lack of consistency has been a huge issue when it comes to the
Mm,
Cleveland Browns. So it's no surprise that Baker Mayfield can't succeed because he's learning a different offense every single
here's the
play.
thing, though, Ashton. It doesn't matter who the coach is if you can't throw the ball correctly.
It's hard to determine if you're throwing the ball correctly.
I mean,
If like
his accuracy is just garbage. I mean, it's
time
bad.
will tell. Once again, I when I look at the situation and everybody's blaming the players on the field, the reason they're blaming the players, Martin, is because everybody else around them is changing every single year. So they can't blame the new guy who just got here, even
So
though they did that to Freddie Kitchens last year.
yeah. So first year in the league, 63.8%. Next year in the league, 59.4, and then one game of 2020, 53.8. So
Yeah, it
it's
happens.
it's not no it's I know when we were doing your fantasy draft that I think Frosty told you to draft Baker and he was super high on him. I think he might have been on something because it I don't know what y'all see in Baker Mayfield. I'm sorry.
Uh, I'll save that for later because I feel like Baker's gonna prove me right before he proves me wrong.
All right.
Moving on, next question here. Sorry, I gotta look at who actually sent this one in. Oh, this is from Hasmin. Shout out to her. Follow her on Twitter at J Carranza. So JCarranza 28. She's a Vikings fan. Her arm sleeve is fucking dope. No lie. She has like a Thor Vikings thing going on.
That's dope.
Is TB12 an imposter when he's not in the Belichick system, or
Mm,
just a one-off game one with a new team?
I'd go the latter. Just the one. We needed more of a sample size of Tom Brady not being in the system. If you know what I mean. Like you
It's
can't.
also hard to believe that you get better players and more talent around you and you get worse
Yeah.
overall.
I think there's just some kinks in the system that the Buccaneers need to figure out. They showed they could
Also,
move the ball. It just didn't like we said, like he's getting blamed for the two interceptions that he threw, but both times he was just not on the page with Mike Evans. And I mean, sometimes you got to put
one
the blame on the receiver. Like
Yeah, there should definitely be a stat where you like look at a receiver, like if it touches the receiver hands and it ends up in a DB's hands, like there has to be somebody keeping track of that stat
yeah,
out there in the world. I'm sure it's on PFF somewhere. But other thing to point out, there's this stat that went around and nobody like really made a big deal about it, but it's like Bruce Arians in first years with quarterbacks, they just for some reason like go off a cliff.
hmm
Like dudes that were good before he got there, like somehow get worse, and it may be due to his system, but I think there's something to be said about like more talent does not make Tom Brady a worse quarterback, and it should ease the aging process because at the end of the day, I still think that his decision making is still there, and I think he's fought hard enough, like aging wise and mentality wise and study wise, and the grueling preparation he's spent in the game and getting ready for opponents. It pays off. Y'all are also forgetting the New Orleans Saints are still a Super Bowl contender, despite what
yeah,
everybody will try and tell you about like Drew Brees is old. Their defense isn't that good, which is a fucking lie. Their offense doesn't have like a stud receiver, and also a lie. It's hard to sit here and be like, oh yeah, you lost to a team that literally lost in the second round of the playoffs last year, who people thought was like a Super Bowl contender. So it's a hard sell for me. I think Hasmin, if you're out there, which by the way, shame on the Vikings for not drafting her because the Vikings had like 15 picks in the first draft in the draft last year, and I was like, they're gonna draft you as like morale captain or whatever. So anyway, yeah, I think it's a one off, bro. Like you can't. They're better than half the teams in the league. That's what you're arguing here, right? Like
mm.
that's the argument being made. Are they better than half the teams in the NFL? And I think without a question, they are. So
Yeah. That's one that question we've got to wait. Give me 3 to 4
I need a
weeks.
month. I need a month.
That's what I was gonna
I
say.
need at least a month.
Give me a month. Come back to us in a month with that question, and we'll let you know just how where the chips lie on the Belichick system. And the other thing is, people gotta remember, Belichick's the defensive coach, right? Like, he's more defense than he is offense.
Yeah.
I could be
And
wrong
also,
on that. I mean, he might have
yeah,
his
he is.
hands in both of them.
He's a defensive mastermind. That is
Yeah.
correct. We got 3 more here. By the way, shout out to everybody who wrote in to the show to help out. Roberto Malta, who is a big history buff, asked a simple question: Cam VP?
He could. Not after the first game, but because the passing yards weren't there.
We are still very skeptical based off of what we saw. Because once
Yeah,
again, when we did the breakdown, we were like, they should be thankful that they played the Dolphins.
yeah. Like, the Dolphins'
So
defense is better, but also still, I'd say on the bottom half of middle of the pack in the NFL now. Um, they did have some bright spots, but um, wait, no, I don't. I think if we're talking MVP off of week one, it's Russell Wilson. It's not even close.
yeah, or Matt Ryan.
Or
No, I'm
DeAndre
just kidding.
Hopkins, but
I'm
yeah,
kidding. Yeah, I'm one of those guys. But yeah, Cam. I mean, as of right now, still in the running for as far as we know,
yeah,
he could just be heating up.
yeah, exactly.
So
It looked nice. I liked what I saw. If they can continue doing it, he'll be in the conversation.
Ben Strauss asked. I think his name on Twitter is still Ben Strauss. Hot take. He does not ask. He says, hot take. Adam Gase will not be the first coach fired this year.
Mm, it'll be him or Matt Patricia.
I'm banking on Matt Patricia to get fired. Are there any
Especially after
black
making
head
that.
coaches in the NFL right
Um,
now? Oh, Anthony Lynn.
yeah, he's
Put
not
him
getting
at the
fired.
top. I will say this. This is the first year where you might see all of them make it to the end, Martin, and you know why. They still got to pay these coaches,
Hmm.
even if they don't work for them anymore. So
That's one of the
keeping
reasons
them
Bill
around as long
O'Brien's
as
still in town.
yeah, and on top of that, Bill O'Brien's saving a shit ton of money in the salary cap, but nobody wants to talk about that. Anyway, yeah, I'm just saying the coach. I think all the coaches might make it to the end of the year. Just no matter how. By the way, if anybody's getting fired before the season's over, it's going to be whoever is coaching the Browns, right? Uh, it's hard to believe that Adam Gase isn't leading the pack right now in terms of people that are pissed off. Because if you look at, as much as I dislike Vic Fangio and the things that he said, I don't know him as a person, but the things that he said has been interesting. The Jacksonville Jaguars, untouchable, because like we already know they're firing him at the end of the season, right? We already know they're firing Doug Marrone at the end of the season.
Hmm.
Other bad teams. Dolphins are not firing their new head coach. They just got him there, and he pulled out a bunch of wins. They're not
He,
firing the 12-year-old that's the coach for
the
the
Dolphins have a
Bengals.
black head coach, don't they?
Yeah, but
No, I'm saying like he's not. I'm just saying like I don't think he's
by
getting
the
fired.
way, from Honduras,
Yeah.
like Honduran immigrant. By the way, y'all should check that story out. Like
Or
Brian Flores,
yeah, Brian
and
Flores. That's his name.
Brian Flores and his life story is insane. How he got to the point where he is right now. It is the epitome of what it means to like. I know there's a lot of people around here that like to pretend that they're real patriots. Brian Flores and his family are the epitome of the American dream. So check that out. There's a Peter King interview where he talks to Brian Flores, and if you can stay awake listening to Peter King talk, Brian Flores will tell you some amazing things about his life. Anyway, yeah. So Adam, you know
I'd say
what?
Matt Patricia over.
I'll bank. Actually, that reminds me of Matt Nagy. Uh, I'll bank on all 32 coaches making it to the end of the season before I say one of them gets fired midseason.
I'm gonna say
Off
Matt
just money
Patricia.
alone.
I'm saying Matt Patricia before Adam Gase because Adam Gase can say that one last season his quarterback got mono, and then this season his stud running back got hurt for the first 4 to 5 weeks. So he can somehow
Right.
one, he weaseled his way into getting another head coaching job as it is. So he's obviously good with words and obviously good with fucking bullshitting his way out of shit. So he's gonna bullshit his way into saying that he's gotten injuries and that's the reason that his team is so bad and not the coaching. But yeah.
Also, maybe the Falcons if things
Mm,
go bad.
yeah,
If
maybe.
things go
Yeah, he
bad, the
was on the
Falcons.
hot seat last year, so yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if things go bad, where you have a 400-yard passing game from your starting quarterback and still lose by double-digit points, Anyway,
And
Mike
you're the defensive
Pascal.
coach as well.
Yeah, and the defensive coordinator. Mike Pascatoy, shout out to him. He's a pretty good Quidditch player, and he's got some takes here. So he's got hot take here. DeAndre Hopkins will make a case for MVP in Arizona, which
Yes.
would make him the first ever wide receiver to win MVP, if I'm not mistaken, right? B, on the prediction side, he's got 4 head coaches will be fired by week 11. Which I think the 4 that we listed like way more than 4 because like let's be for real, Martin, you can make an argument that any coach can be fired at any given time, right?
Yeah, I'm just trying to think of like
Except Bill Belichick. That's pretty much it. And Andy Reid, right?
if Bill O'Brien gets fired before the season's over, I'd be surprised. But if they're going into the bye week with 1-2 wins, I could see Houston's fan base. I mean, they're already up in arms as it is. The moment DeAndre got traded, I agree. I got off the bandwagon.
So next 3 games for the, by the way, for those of you at home unindoctrinated, next 3 games for the Texans, Ravens, Steelers, Vikings.
Yeah, all losses. They're not beating the Ravens. They're not beating the Steelers.
God.
They're going to struggle against the Vikings. So
ye of little faith.
no, it's not little. It comes like I wanted to say this at the start of the podcast. Strength of schedule means so much in the NFL.
But Martin, also strength of schedule changes every single week, right? Like its value adjusts every single week. I get what you're talking about when it comes to the Ravens because the Ravens pass rush is probably fucking insane, right? But it's hard. And then we look at the DB situation. It's hard to believe that they're gonna like Deshaun Watson because he is better than Baker Mayfield, right?
Yeah,
we know that for a fact. It's hard to believe that there's not going to be an opportunity for him to go out there and make some kind of plays. The running game hasn't been completely shut down. The worst thing that they have to offer is their second level tackling is garbage, bro.
yeah.
Like that's
always
the worst
had,
about it.
The Texans have always had bad like no matter who the coach is, no matter who the defensive coordinator is, for some reason tackling in Houston is just it's like a kryptonite. Oh, yeah, it's like oh my god.
He says 4 head coaches will be fired by week 11, which is possible.
I do agree with him on the D Hop. Sorry, I just want to get that in there real quick. D Hop could literally win MVP this year because
I need a urine sample after this.
No, we've already seen how much of an impact he has.
Yeah, but you're also asking like every piece of impact that DeAndre Hopkins has on the game not to be credited to Kyler Murray. That's just not going to happen. That's not how football works.
He could literally, in Cliff Kingsbury's offense, could literally go 10 for 100 and possibly a touchdown. He should have a touchdown, by the way. I'm not saying this just because I got 12 points taken away from my fantasy team. He should have had a fucking touchdown on that catch. I still haven't seen a replay of where he was down without the ball in across the goal line, but that's just a different story. So he technically should have went 14 for 150 and a touchdown, but whatever. He could literally go 10 for 100 and a touchdown every single week in Cliff Kingsbury's offense.
And there you go, ladies and gentlemen. DeAndre Hopkins' biggest fan.
Oh, dude. Without a doubt. I might have to buy a jersey.
He was asked what was the worst thing that he saw in week 1 of the NFL season. He said anything related to the Giants' offensive line play.
And what was the worst thing?
I can't help but agree.
The Giants' offensive line was bad. The Jets are bad. Like we knew how bad the Jets were going to be.
Steven Gostkowski's kicking, so
the Colts losing to the Jaguars as a whole. The Colts losing to the Jaguars as a whole is worse to me than the Giants' offensive line play. The Colts should not be losing to the Jaguars. Like it is, I still can't believe how it happened.
So move on. He's got a question here. Will this be the year where we have the first 1,000 receiving yard season by a running back who doesn't go for over 1,000 yards rushing? And the name that popped into my mind, Josh Jacobs. Even though Josh gets a healthy dose of receiving yards and catches. Receiving yards and carries offensively, and he essentially has no competition for carries in the backfield, which is a rare situation to find yourself in the NFL. So I could see that happening for Josh Jacobs, especially later on in the season, where people start to realize, hey man, if we force Derek Carr to beat us in the game, we have a way better chance of winning. So yeah, Martin is pondering here for some
I'm
reason.
trying
So
to there's a running back that his name is literally I'm trying to find the running.
which, by the
Hold on,
way,
hold on,
difficult
hold on, hold on.
situation because if you know any team in the NFL, you have to know at least 3 running backs deep on the depth chart to know all of their running backs that get carries, which is always fun. So, but yeah, I just saw I thought Josh Jacobs, best receiving back, of
Raheem
course, is
must
Alvin
start.
Kamara.
Raheem must
Raheem
start.
Mostert. Raheem Mostert for the San Francisco 49ers is the guy that Martin could see that happening for, especially if Debo Samuels does not come back at 100%, and your boy Jimmy Garoppolo keeps throwing out those dump off passes. So that all tallies up at the end of the season. That all adds up. But yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's all we got on the listener questions. Shout out to everybody who wrote into the show. Really appreciate it. Really do. Hit me up on Instagram at the Ashton Forever. I post the question boxes every day before the show and other stuff to go along with it, man. Oh, we got 2.5 hours on this one, so that's pretty
Yep.
good. We'll
Got
be
in
back
there.
on Thursday, and our goal is to keep it under 3 hours, hopefully the 2.5 hours, all that good jazz like that. We talk a lot. Hopefully what we're saying is doing something for you. When it's all said and done, hit me up on Twitter, FB_playbook. Follow Martin on Twitter at Martin Pape. It is listed above him on Twitch TV, which you can find us on Twitch at Broke Boy Sports. If you just type that in, you can listen to the show on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Deezer. Where else?
Just
All
about
the other streaming
yeah,
platforms.
just about anywhere you get a podcast, and we want to
You
give
can listen.
yeah.
You can listen to us on vinyl if you ask nicely. We will make a vinyl of this podcast for you.
I
So
wonder how we need that song Ashton sang a little while ago. We need to get that on vinyl. See if we can.
I will make you hurt.
There you go. Also, give a shout out.
I am Empire of Dirt.
Give a shout out to
Ah.
our favorite friends over at Thrive Fantasy. Unfortunately, of everything I did from fantasy football to fantasy soccer, Thrive unfortunately was where I finished the worst. So I'm coming back in week 2, stronger than ever, ready for the picks, ready for the hashtag props, and we are gonna be going in. If you download Thrive Fantasy from the Google or Apple Store on your phone, use the code BrokeBoy. You'll get $20 back when you put $20 down. It's fun, dude. It's fun following along your fantasy and DFS, and it's also fun following along the props. You're not rooting for certain scores. You're rooting for, is Aaron Rodgers going to score or throw for less than 263 yards? Fortunately for me, I said under, and he went over. So it was unfortunate there. A couple other bad picks of mine, but we're looking to bounce back in week 2. Thrive Fantasy, code BrokeBoy.
Only one thing left to say, man. Wash your hands, wash your ass. And most importantly, stay home, Roger.